All right, welcome to this afternoon's work session. First order of business is to see if any commissioner would like to take any of the preliminary items for next BLC meeting for discussion. All right, here and now we'll move into our first work session discussion item, USER 360. Please take the podium. Lieutenant, she got something she want to handle.
Thank you.
Thank you. Doing your job for you.
Hey. I was distracted for a second.
I appreciate you bearing with me with the protocol. Thank you. Good evening. I'm excited to be here today. My name is Christina Guillen. I am founder and head
I'm sorry, can you put the mic up a little bit more so
I'm
people
sorry.
in the back can hear you?
Absolutely. Good evening. I'm excited to be here and honored to be here today. My name is Christina Guillen. I am founder and head of schools for Seven Pillars Career Academy, which is sponsored by the nonprofit foundation Youth Serve 360, where we have been serving the residents of Clayton County since 2008. And we're really excited to be here today because we have been able to secure funding through the CDC to create a multi-tiered approach to helping to create sustainability and hopefully eliminate and end and reduce poverty here through a affordable housing and a workforce development approach. This contains some of the elements necessary to do so, and one of the things that the CDC was really excited about was the potential for partnership. And they came to us when we shared that the county has been doing some great initiatives. Commissioner Davis, Turner, Franklin, Anderson, and Hambrick have all made the unhoused a priority for this district and helping to eliminate poverty a priority here in Clayton County. And so they were so excited about that they share that if we can collaborate in meaningful partnership, they would increase that grant amount to $1 million, so a $250,000 increase. So we come before you today presenting what we believe will be an exciting opportunity for partnership to better the residents of Clayton County. And what we're posing is a usage for the Rainbow House for a phase 1 service to allow our families who are working and unhoused to be able to have transitional shelter or transitional housing as they move into supportive housing, which is tier 2 of our program. And we have here today with you our representative Adalo from GCIS, because one of the things that we wanted to make sure it was very, very important is that our organization operates with integrity and security. So we hire professionals who would be working the overnight shift to make sure that the residents there are safe. And so he is also here and available for any questions that may be had. So I open up for questions.
Well, let me say this. You have not given us your specific ask or your request as to how we can partner with you.
Absolutely. So what we are specifically asking is for the use of the Rainbow House facility and the accompanying building to allow for our families to house up to 40 potential families. So our goal is to be a family shelter that does not separate. It is a stay together shelter. And so that will allow those families who oftentimes are forced to separate or actually stay out of the system because of fear of being broken apart, an opportunity to transition. We have partnered with Sconiers Homeless Preventative Services, a stalwart in the community and very knowledgeable about the ways in which we can eliminate poverty and homelessness, because we know that when we create stable housing, we have an opportunity for a stable workforce, and we have an opportunity, once we have a stable workforce and a stable house, now we have stable nutrition because we have a stable home to make that nutritious meal in. So this is really a multi-pronged approach, a 2-generational approach, and our request is to be able to work together to utilize that home. We would provide all of the services for renovation, all of the services for the maintenance of those services within the walls, and we're asking for some support for those out-of-wall services in those major systems.
So it sounds like you're just asking for use of the facility and you'll pay for everything else that county's not paying for. And I know through a IGA or something to the like that just like the Rainbow House, we had to come up with some agreement to maintain the yard or whatever. But let me ask this. I know the grant is going to take care of the operational costs. When that grant is gone, how are you going to sustain yourself?
Absolutely. So there's a portion on that last page that talks about sustainability because that is very important for us. So tier 2 is our families and residents will move into affordable rental housing. A portion of that rent will actually be set aside to go towards the maintenance of the sheltered housing. In addition, our families will be working in our community garden. We believe that that community garden will be a great way to monetize a farmer's market. So we have multi-pronged approaches to making sure that we're sustainable beyond the 2 years of this funding.
Any other questions from the
I have
board?
a question.
Commissioner Anderson.
I want to first of all say thank you, but I want to talk to you all about safety first. As we look at safety and we look at some of the things that happen with Atlanta, as those shelters close down and some of the violence that happened in some of those shelters within the Atlanta area, I just want to know, how are you going to work with mental health and dealing with people who are coming in who have issues with mental health? Are you going to provide counseling for them, and what are some of the avenues that you're going to take to help sustain and keep those families together?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. One of the important things for us is the intake process. So we have a family support specialist, and every family receives an extensive intake interview. Our family support specialist is actually a certified social worker with over 15 years of DFACS experience. Okay. So they have a number of resources available to them that will create a family support plan. That plan will involve the steps necessary for that family to remain in our transitional housing, which also includes mandatory therapies.
Okay. Also, my second question is, now I want to say the location in Atlanta was, I think I want to say Pine Street, but there were a lot of incidents of violence in that particular location, and I'm pretty sure that's why that location closed. And so again, how are you going to maintain and make sure that we don't have those incidences of violence and make sure that you take care of the residents that are there?
Absolutely. So Pine Street 1 was an all-male shelter, so that's another thing that's important. It was an adult-based shelter. This is a family shelter, so we're going to have a different demographic that we're working with, and one of the requirements are these families are working families. Okay. So these are families who are already actively involved in the workforce, but they are unable to make the income necessary to sustain housing. Okay. We also will be working with this organization, and he can share a little bit about his organization's background with you for security purposes. Okay.
And I also want to say also, we do have a big we do have a lot of homeless men, and that's one of the issues that we have. Also, we get a lot of calls as commissioners, and where a lot of our residents are, homeless males. A lot of them are veterans and things of that nature. So I would like for you all to look at an avenue for our veterans and our homeless men as well, because they're the ones who don't a lot of times have anywhere to go.
So we definitely have an educational component that comprises all persons, but as for the sake of the housing units, these will be specifically for working families that can be male. So one of the things that also has been is that we have single fathers, and we have fathers who are facing being unhoused. And so this is an organization that is committed to family and keeping family units together. And as of right now, if you have a male child over the age of 12, there are no shelters that will allow you to be housed together, and that has kept a lot of our families from seeking help because they don't want to separate their children from them.
All right, thank you, and I thank you for pointing that out.
Absolutely.
Did he want to say something?
No, ma'am. I'm just here to answer any questions that were necessary.
All right.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis.
Do you have any other models anywhere that
Absolutely. One of our major partners is Nicholas House. Nicholas House is a shelter in the city of Atlanta, right across the street from the zoo. They have been open since 1938. Our organization has volunteered exclusively with them since 2009, almost monthly, to provide not only meal services but actual active programming. We work with their mental health supports. So we've pretty much been able to, I'm not somebody who wants to reinvent a wheel. That's working well. So we took the things that worked well from those organizations that we work with. Also Ronald McDonald House, which is also a residential program. So we've had a lot of years of experience volunteering and partnering with organizations who are doing exactly what we're attempting to do.
Okay, so you're on the volunteer part of the partnering side, or were you going handling the finances, going after which way? Because, and I asked that question because for me, with everything that's taking place, I want to know the financial health.
Absolutely.
That's going to be coming in, not only in sustainability, starting it up, but sustainability, not just for the next year or two, but
Absolutely. We have been an audited organization since 2008 and to the level of A133 since 2013, and those records are absolutely available to you and for public consumption, which we encourage you to do so. If you go to our website, you'll see the last 5 years of audited records, which have found no findings, even amongst a COVID and pandemic state. So we believe in financial integrity and transparency as
So the
well.
board can get a copy of those.
Absolutely.
Great.
They're available.
Also, too, you spoke about basically bridging into affordable housing. Clayton County is a desert for a whole many things. Have you identified a developer? How are you all going to transition folks into affordable housing?
Absolutely. We've had some initial meetings with a number of potential developers, Rock Community Homes being one of them. And so one of the things that we're looking to do is in a form of partnership, as we see that the CDC is willing to increase our grant amount based on what partnership looks like, potentially working with the county and seeing what land is available, because unlike a lot of grants, this grant actually allows for capital purchases. That is very rare in the world of grant making. And so for us, we would actually be able to secure some land that may not have been developed, or secure some properties that may be underutilized or being neglected on the county rosters, and be able to bring them up to par. So this should be something that we feel partnership should be symbiotic and mutually beneficial.
Okay, so you're looking for properties that you said on the county roster.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
I have a question.
Commissioner Franklin.
First, I want to say thank you for bringing this before the board, and thank you for the work that you're doing at Seven Pillars Academy. So you said the organization has been in existence since 2008?
Yes.
And how did you start? How did you start, and where are you now?
Absolutely. So we began with myself being a Clayton County public school teacher at Riverdale Middle School, and I had lost my second student to gun violence during the after school hours between 3 and 6 p.m. And it was during that time that I realized that once you get out of elementary school, there really were no after school programs outside of athletics. So if you were not an athlete, there really was nothing for you to do. And so what we found were opportunities to support young people with creating an after-school program. So I wrote my first grant that year as a teacher at Riverdale Middle and got $150,000 from the Department of Human Services, and we started the Passport program that very year. And since that time, we served after-school programming and summer programming from 2008 all the way until 2018. And in 2018, we had the opportunity and realized that we need to be able to support our students more than just after school. And so we stretched out and opened up our charter school, Seven Pillars Career Academy, in August 2019.
Oh, wow. And how many students are you serving?
So
And what does that population look like?
Absolutely. So part of our charter is small classrooms. So that's one of the things that's really important for us, to make sure we can really have a hands-on, individualized approach. We started off with 6th grade, and we added a grade every year. So now we are 6th through 10th grade, and we have over 350 students enrolled.
Oh, wow. Another question for you, though. When you talk about the program that you're presenting before us in partnership, will the majority of those being served come from throughout the county? How will the referrals occur?
So this is a county-based initiative, correct. What we are looking to do is utilize families who have school-age children. One of the things that we want to do is, we know that what we have seen is a 2-generational approach to systemically ending poverty is the most ideal. And so when we have school-age children, we're able to impact their curriculum with adding skills and services onto them, giving them more workforce development, and their parents at the same time. So it's important for us that we're able to focus on a population that has the ability to meet some of the markers that we know have been found in when you're talking about upward mobility or socioeconomic mobility.
Oh, wow. So you'll be able to measure the success
Absolutely.
of your participants as opposed to people just coming in and going out.
So one of the reasons we partner with Georgia State is that we're actually going to be using their qualitative and quantitative evaluation program. They have a very extensive evaluation program. Part of every grant that I get, I make sure I write a portion in for evaluation, because if we don't know the impact of what we're doing, then we really are not serving the people to its greatest capacity. And for me, I need to make sure that every dollar, because it's a taxpayer dollar, my parents work in Clayton County, live in Clayton County, I graduated Clayton County schools, is used to its fullest extent. So we have historically had over 90% of all dollars donated going to direct services. We have very little administrative overhead.
One more quick question. Real quick, how much funding do you have initially again?
$750,000, and with partnership, they're willing to increase that to $1 million per year.
So you're at $1 million per year for the first 2 years.
Correct.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. Would anything preclude this organization from, I know you were talking about sustainability from yourself and Commissioner Davis, but wouldn't this organization also be eligible for this CDBG funding, or would they not be eligible? Because this is definitely a place that it's needed, because I get a lot of phone calls from parents who are working, who are managers at places, and they're homeless with their children. And so it sounds like it's not just a Band-Aid,
Absolutely.
but an actual approach that could be life-changing for so many. So I ask again, is that something that we could partner with to ensure the success of it? Because this is really needed.
Now, that is something that we would have to inquire through community development, but by the same token, just like we're reviewing tonight, is your organization a 501c?
Absolutely, and we
So
did apply for the
therefore, you would be
CDBG.
eligible
We applied
the
for it.
Commissioner Block grant. You did apply.
We did
for it.
apply for it, yes.
Okay,
So
but you got to have some proven metrics within the qualifying stage. So as you progress, and you got funding on the front end, as you progress, and I'm glad to hear that you're going to keep the numbers to show your effectiveness, then that will definitely
And we
boost
have
your
the numbers
score
from
to be able to
excuse me,
qualify for this.
we have the numbers from our homeless initiative. So in the past, historically, we've applied for the Commissioner's Block Grant every year for the last 10 years and have scored in the 90th percentile of percentage-wise. So we have scored higher than rubric-wise some of the organizations that were funded. What we lacked was that Commissioner approval.
Was that for 7 Pillars?
Yes, you've served
Okay.
360 doing
So-
business
Yeah,
at Seven Pillars.
but this is different from 7 Pillars, correct?
No, so in the state of Georgia, you've served 360 doing business at Seven Pillars Career Academy. So in the state of Georgia, all charter schools must be run by a nonprofit organization. So this is a division of You've Served 360 Seven Pillars Career Academy.
So for this homeless shelter, you would qualify under 7 Pillars?
Under Youth Serve 360, which does business at Seven Pillars. So they're the same thing. We have the same EIN. We're the same within organization, but we have a business doing business as name.
Okay.
So if we gave you a block of money, I'm sorry, Commissioner. If we gave you a block of money for specifically you serve, but since the 7 Pillars, I guess, is the umbrella company, you could commingle those funds, or
It's the opposite.
Opposite.
Just
So
opposite.
Youth Serve is the organization. Seven Pillars is a branch. We follow all federal fiduciary law when it comes to grant or donated dollars. So donated dollars that are earmarked dollars must be spent on what they are earmarked to be spent for. So we do not have, and once again, we have the audits to show that we do not commingle funds. That is a huge no-no. We run a number of federal programs. We also run the summer food service program. We have served over 300,000 meals just in the last 2 years through the public library system in Clayton County. So anytime you went to the library in the summertime, over the last 3 years, our organization, Youth Serve 360, provided those meals. So we have a number of experiences in the community that would definitely make sure that these funds are not only being utilized, but being fiducially utilized. We have a Department of Human Services grant for over $1 million that we've had for 3 years. We also we run our after-school programs with that, and then we were funded by the United Way last year to the tune of $250,000 for our Making the Connection civic organization grant.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I was just going to say, actually, you covered it, Mr. Chair. I want to say, this is awesome work. This is the direction we need to go into in bringing comprehensive support to our community. And we have to start somewhere, and I think the best place to start is with our children, having a safe place to lay their heads. And what better way to be able to utilize a space to be able to provide that need. I commend you all to see how you've used the funds and received additional funds. I wish that the school system would consider what you're doing and probably figure out a way to duplicate it. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hamburg.
Yes, how do you pronounce your last name?
Guillen. So the L's are Y's and the U is silent.
Okay, Miss Guillen.
Yes,
Okay, so you have a charter school.
correct.
Okay. You started the charter school in 2008.
2019.
Oh.
So Youth
So
Serve
what-
360 is the nonprofit that sponsors the charter school, and that was founded in 2008.
Okay. So now,
That's you through.
charter school in 2019. Homeless shelter in,
We have worked extensively with existing homeless shelters since 2008.
okay, so you're presenting to us tonight
A request to partner for the use of the Rainbow House as an emergency family shelter for a non-separation shelter.
for the homeless.
Correct, for working homeless families.
Okay, so where's your charter school?
It's in Morrow High School,
Oh, okay.
formerly Morrow
The
High
old-
School.
The old facility, okay. Okay, we got location. So you have not started the homeless shelter, is that correct? Or-
Not the one here in Clayton County, no.
Okay.
We have worked with displaced families. So what we have been doing is we have been working directly with families, providing rental assistance, providing support services, wraparound services, housing services. We paid for multiple families to have Airbnbs for up to 9 months last year out of our school budget, but that was not sustainable.
Okay, because I'm just getting this and reading. I need to
Absolutely.
really read this and absorb it and get the difference and all. And when you're actually planning to start the homeless shelter in Clayton,
As we're ready to go. So so basically, the CDC they came back with that increase in early August, and we've been talking with Commissioner Davis and working with Chairman Turner, to make sure that we're able to present, and they kind of asked us some tough questions to make sure that we were able to present a very clear and concise picture, but they're ready to drop those funds yesterday because the grant was encumbered as of July 1st.
so who's ready to drop the funds?
CDC.
Okay. So are they what are they waiting for?
Space.
Well, we have to approve the space, and then we would also have to work out
an
IGA.
Yeah.
The commissioners want to, that there will, the partnership is as basically what they said, that we're there, we're ready to move forward as partners with this thing.
Nice.
So CDC will give you funds if the county.
Additional funds. We already have $750,000 on our own.
Okay, but they'll give you additional funds
Correct.
if the county does.
Partners.
Does the CDC have a specific amount that they will match, or are they matching, or what are they doing?
The $250,000.
They are matching. I mean, they are asking for
Correct.
you all to get someone to match.
Correct. And that building space accounts for a majority of that. And so one of the things with the block grant, that could make up that other piece as well to make sure that we then bring in that full, draw down that full lump sum of money.
Okay. So is the school system participating in this?
No, as a charter school, we have autonomy to
So you're
make
not
those
with
decisions.
the school system charter school? You're with
We're a district charter. We're a district authorized charter, but we are autonomous to make decisions on how our school uses its funds and its priorities and obligations.
So the Clayton County schools do not fund you all or help.
They do not, but they do provide the families.
Chairman?
Any other questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Is there any way we can get the financials for both 7 Pillars and U360 since it's all up under one?
Absolutely, they're both transparent on our website, so those are all
They're both on the same website?
correct. They're posted.
Give us
on-
your website.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's
And
at
do you
the-
have a letter from, okay, I'm sorry, yes, the website.
It's in your packet out,
Is
but
it in
I'll
the packet?
definitely make sure.
Okay.
Mhm.
And also, do you have a letter from the CDC stating the agreement and the terms of funding?
We do.
Okay, if we can get a copy of that as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, I do, but I'll hold them.
Okay.
I'll hold them.
All right, and I don't have the package you gave out, but I'm sure it has.
Yeah, I didn't
hopefully
get
it
a
has your
package.
information on it. Should any commissioner have, that's fine. Have any additional
Mr. Hammer
questions?
needs one.
I got a question real quick.
Absolutely, we have plenty. So
What happens to the funding if Clayton County does not step up? Do we send that money back? Because I don't want to have to do that.
it won't be dispersed to us, so
Oh,
it will
that's
never
not-
come down to our coffers.
So that means we have this opportunity. But if not, then it would be like, thank you, but no thank you.
It would signal that this may not be the opportune time for that type of partnership, and so they're wanting to really see collaboration between government entity and nonprofits, those sectors really creating that community of support. And so that's what we're able to show with this potential opportunity, is that there is a collaboration of support, and that even though we're bringing the lion's share with the 750, the county is very vested in still making sure that we are able to thrive in any way possible, and it's symbiotics, of course.
I like the fact it's going to support our direct residents again. And my personal prayer is that we can find a way, because it's a need that is there, and the space according is there. So we'll hope we won't have to continue to say no to funding that's provided to help the families here. So I think I'm going to be on my knees and praying that you can get that yes, because I personally know of a mother, bless her heart, who works at one of the department stores as a manager. and she and her children sleep in their car,
Yes.
and it breaks my heart.
Yes.
So
Unfortunately, we knew of 7 families just in our little school that were in this situation, and so we understand that this is such a large step in creating the type of county that we want to have long term. We have to really make some concerted efforts. And what I really also believe, one of the reasons we were one of the only organizations selected by CDC to come back and offer additional funds,
That's awesome.
I really believe that was because they're looking for a proof of concept. I believe that this is something that can be duplicated in work in many municipalities, because at the end of the day, when government and nonprofits collaborate with a growth mindset and no scarcity mindset, we can accomplish a lot.
That's
And I believe
powerful.
this is a great opportunity for Clayton County to lay the framework for how other people will do so. They've actually shared that this is if this works, this could be a pioneering type of program.
Ms.
Commissioner.
Gulian? Yeah. Okay, so will the homeless shelter only be for your students, or will it be for the entire county?
It will be for students who are attending Clayton County Public Schools. So not our school in particular, but students who attend Clayton County Public Schools. So any of the, I believe, 52 schools, don't give me the mess that, I know you know, Dr. Anderson.
So the age will go up to,
52,000.
what's the age?
So school-age children, so if they have special needs, they're able to still maintain a part of the family unit up until 21.
Okay, will this include families? Because I know some shelters only take, they don't take the fathers.
Correct. So this is specific. That's one of the things that's very unique about this. What will make us the only shelter in the metro area that is a stay-together shelter, no matter your family dynamic. So fathers are welcome.
Okay, is this a one-time ask, or is this forever?
When you mean as far as
As
using
far
the
as the
building?
county participating, is this a one-time ask?
It would be a leased ask. So I would presume, have terms of the lease, and then at the end of that lease, we would come back together and determine if we want to move forward and stay longer. I want to make sure I'm understanding your question, Commissioner Hammer.
Well, there would be
correctly.
an agreement through an IGA that we would allow you to utilize the building, but it would have a termination clause for cause or without cause. I don't know if
Right.
it's legal. Have to work through that, but that would be presented to the board prior to.
And not only that, you're asking for the building, but then you said CDC was going to match. Are they matching what we're putting in as far as the building is concerned, or are you asking for an amount along with the building?
Both. I'm asking for an amount along with the building if those block grant funds are available to do so. However, starting with just the building can get the ball rolling so they can go ahead and release those funds.
I need to read more.
Any other questions? Well, again, thank you for your presentation, and look forward to taking a closer look at this proposal. And again, just thank you for caring about this community enough to come up with this initiative.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your time. And I will just add, for the purposes of moving forward with the funding with the CDC, the block grant was not mentioned, or part of that, the building is what we proposed to them to go ahead and get the initiative beginning. So that can be.
So what's your time?
So that, once again, the grant was encumbered July 1st, so they're ready. As soon as we're ready, they're ready. So we are wanting to, as soon as possible, that we're able to say, hey, this is something that we can see this building being utilized for, so that we can go ahead and draw those funds down to get those renovations started. That is
Well,
our
we
goal.
would have to have a signed agreement, and once that agreement has been signed off on, the funds will drop, and then she'll be able to start her operations.
Okay, and with this building, how many families will be able to participate in it?
Excellent question. So we're saying families up to the size of 10, up to 4 potential families up to the size of 10, so up to 40 persons, but it depends on the family dynamic sizes, determining how many would be able to be housed, but the facility itself can be subdivided to account for up to 40 persons.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Real quick, I just want to state, and I have not brought it up, first of all, I want to say thank you to the board, because we worked through something that was very difficult, utilizing that building to begin with. And there previously was an agreement with the previous organization for the building. So I think the ask is not something we've not done before. So that agreement is already been drawn up, not necessarily with your organization in mind, but considering what we are having to deal with, I think this would be an opportunity, Mr. Chair and board, for us to, and I don't want to like to say this way, but kind of take lemons and turn them into lemonade, and really make it beneficial for our community. I think it would be a shame to allow that building to continue to sit there, understanding what is really happening, when we have an opportunity to really turn it into something good and useful for really the original intent. And I don't think that there's anything precluding from the other space to continue to be utilized if, Mr. Chair, through operations, you see fit for the testing that was going on for those children or youth who had gone through any type of, traumatic experience is the better way that I'll say that, because that was already going on before as well. So I think it's a win-win situation.
Absolutely.
And that's just my thought of it, because it's grieved my soul to really see that building sitting there empty when it was supposed to be there to serve the public. So again, I think this is a way that the community can turn it around and make sure we're utilizing a building that we own instead of allowing to sit it there empty when it could be serving our community well.
Absolutely.
In dual capacity, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely, Commissioner Franklin, and we appreciate that, and we're in direct belief, because the longer it does go, the more we do have to put towards renovation costs.
Right.
And we also are very sensitive to the history there, which is one of the reasons why we want to make sure that we came with T's crossed and I's dotted, because we know this is very serious work, working with people's children. People entrust me with their hearts every day when they allow their children to walk into my building. And so that's something that we take very seriously. And being the only suspension-free school in Clayton County, we have had to create a number of methods and effective procedures to be able to make sure that we keep our children safe and their behaviors managed in a way that produces great outcomes. And so this is not a space that we're unfamiliar with. We're not unfamiliar with mental health challenges. We're not unfamiliar with children who have traumatic experiences. We're not unfamiliar with families who are unfortunately at their lowest of the low. We are honored to be able to walk with them through these times and see them succeed and soar as Clayton County residents.
How many students do you have?
348, I believe. Don't quote me exactly, but I believe that's correct.
Well, again, thank you for your very comprehensive presentation, and we will be in touch. Thank you,
you
ma'am.
so much. Thank you
you.
all.
Next, Housing for Seniors and Care Services.
Good evening, esteemed Board of Commissioners and guests. My name is Miata Harris. I'm a senior at Martha Ellen Stillwell School of the Arts, and I'm the chairwoman for Clayton County Youth Commission. Today, I'm honored to stand before you to introduce our next speaker. She's one of the hardest working women I know, and she's an entrepreneur, homeowner, and businesswoman in Clayton County. Please join me in welcoming my mother, Mrs. Susanna Tarr.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
She got to do that for me. Thank you all. Good evening, members of the board. I hope you all are doing well.
Please speak into the microphone.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, that's
Okay, wonderful. Good evening. I'm delighted to be here today. Let me take my glasses off. My name is Susanna Tarr, as my daughter stated, and I am a resident of Clayton County and a business owner in Clayton County. My husband and I run a personal care home and named Tarr Personal Care Home, and we cater to the elderly and special needs adults. The reason why I'm here today is to bring to your attention a critical issue that concerns our community, especially the caregivers. And I understand that the Commissioner Board plays an important role in shaping the policy and decision that affects our community. And in that spirit is why I'm here, so we can collaborate. And in civil engagement, I wish to bring to your attention the need for increased funding to support our seniors and special needs adults in Clayton County. This cause really touches my heart because I worked with Grady for many, many years. And there came a time after I had my daughter, I couldn't go back to work. And God had revealed to me that this was an opportunity for me to be part of. It has been over 9 years since we have actually served the community as a business owner. Most of our clients or residents that we have in our homes are residents who are on the low income end or no income at all. There are many times when we got into this business, my expectation was great. I had different expectations, how the business was gonna go. It was all business minded until I actually encountered the reality of it, which was we have many seniors, special needs seniors in Clayton County that have nowhere to stay, have no support, have no education concerning the needs of receiving resources. So it became challenge for me to learn more about it. I remember standing in front of you all in 2018, November, when my husband and I first opened our business. I stood right at this very spot requesting that we get approved for a conditional use permit. Because when we first started, we was only permitted to have 5 residents. And with that 5 residents, I had 3 that came with no income and 2 with barely any income. So it was hard to sustain them. And I remember standing here and requesting from the commissioner board that if we could get a conditional use permit, that would give us the opportunity to apply for Medicaid and become a Medicaid provider. At that moment, it did not work out. I remember being denied. And it really struck me the day after. I actually wanted to put the cover over my head, but I realized the purpose as to why I even came the first time. So I went back in, went through the process, and in 2019, we got approved to get the conditional use permit approved for us to extend to more than 5 beds and to become a provider with Medicaid. That approval was a blessing. It still is a blessing. It opened the door for us to be able to serve more residents, for us to be able to provide the necessary essential needs that they need. And so many people have been blessed since then. Again, I do want to tell you all, thank you for approving us since then. It has been truly a blessing. But getting back to the point as to why I'm here, in Georgia, there are over 1 million special need disabled seniors. And out of those seniors, many of them are homeless. Earlier, Commissioner Anderson mentioned the veterans and the men. Well, the personal care home, Top Personal Care Home caters to men and veterans. And most of our residents there, they don't have any family support. They do not have anyone. So my husband, myself, my 4 children, we advocate for them under very, very low budget. There are times, currently my husband is not able to attend this meeting because he's taking care of those men right now. So I stand in front of you today requesting, well, before I go into my request, I just want to mention, just give you some idea as to the challenges that we face. Currently, the ARC offers CCSP as a community resource program and source that help fund a part of the room and board for these residents, but the amount that is offered to them is not sufficient to sustain it, especially in the times that we're in right now. And a caregiver like myself, who cannot close my door to men who I know could be my father, my uncle, can close the door and tell them no. You don't make enough. You don't have enough. At this current time, just to give you some statistics, Social Security offers about, for SSI, about $900 a month. That is nothing. It is nothing. Not especially when you have to, in order for us to stay in code, do the right thing as a personal care home or residential care home. We have rules and regulations that we have to follow, not only from the state, but from the county as well. We have to provide 3 meals a day, 2 snacks, television, all of those things. $900 is not going to cut it. So even though we appreciate and truly, truly glad that they have programs such as CCSP and SOURCE, those incomes or those support that they receive, it's just not enough. So I stand before you today, where I had a whole book here, but I'm just speaking from my heart. Okay, I stand before you today requesting, as you go into the next year and setting your budget for the county, consider us, the caregivers, personal care home that are doing it the right way, that are advocating for the special needs seniors to consider them in that budget. Any additional amount will be a blessing to them. I currently, my husband and I, my family as a whole, we take care of 8 men. All of those men been with us for over 5, 6, 7 years.
Wow.
And we have come out of our pocket, personal pocket. Sometimes we don't even have it in the pocket. Sometimes I split costs what my kids will eat in order that these men live a healthy, essential life. And I did bring a little slideshow for you guys to see. This is just one of, few of our residents. The gentleman you're looking at right now, this is Mr. Randall. He came to me from Piedmont Hospital, had a wound on his leg as big as this. He could not walk. And if you go back to the previous slide, the first one, this is how he looked. He was homeless. He have a son that have not been in contact with him for over 6 years. He was homeless, haven't been on his medication, had no support, and the hospital called me for him. When he got to me, he had no money, but we took him in. If you go to the next slide, the one before that. This is him right now.
Wow.
He's healthy. He actually came to us and couldn't walk because of the wound that was on his leg. Now he's the guy who runs to the mailbox for us, help her take out the trash. He just loves to stay busy, water the flowers, the garden, and all of that. He's our handyman now. If you go to the next slide, please. This is Mr. Stanson. He came to us with kidney disease. His mother, he lived with his elderly mother. She passed away. The home they was in, he wasn't able to take care of it. And he became homeless because he couldn't pay. And he didn't know what to go. The hospital called me concerning him. His sister is involved with him, but she couldn't, with her husband having some physical limitation as well, she couldn't take care of him. So now he lives with us. His health is a whole lot better. If you go to the next slide, there he goes, cruising with his shades and things like that. Yeah, he's our guy, constantly moving around. Please go to the next slide. This is Mr. Cofield. Mr. Cofield, he is a special case. He came to us from Southern Regional Hospital. He had just had a stroke. He couldn't walk, completely bedbound. He did not have any insurance. As a matter of fact, his insurance actually kicked in March of this year. And he came to us in 2021. And he was completely bedbound. My husband was the physical therapist for him. Every evening he would walk him. Now, Mr. Cofield is walking and talking.
Wow.
He came to us, and this is the very first birthday he said he ever had in his whole life. We celebrated his 60th birthday back in May. If you go to the next slide. And here's a little video. This is Mr. Bob Ivan Butts. I like to say his full name because he says his full name when he talks to you. He came from Southern Regional as well to us, and when he'll tell his story all by himself. I really want you all to just take a little, few minutes just to listen to what he has to say. President Dress, where you from, Mr. Bob?
Blyersville, Georgia. Union County.
Union County, Blyersville, Georgia. Tell us about yourself. Tell me something about yourself.
Well, I used to walk to church with my dad when I was 3 or 4 years old. Mm-hmm. And there was people getting saved and outside getting saved. My dad went in, and I went in, and the preacher prayed for me, but I didn't go right. I got out of there, and when I was young, I started drinking and carousing around, and then since I've been here, before I came here, I got down on my knees and asked Jesus to forgive me, and He did.
He did. That's what He does.
And I feel so much better.
Amen to that. Amen to that. You can fast forward. So tell us.
She had him at Grady, and he didn't have a daddy, so I adopted him.
So how long have you been here at Tar Personal Care Home?
6 years, I know.
Yeah. 2018?
2017. And how do you like it here?
I love it here.
Yeah.
I dread leaving, tell you the truth, because I'm going to miss everybody here.
Yeah.
They've been so good to me, and y'all saved my life. I'll never forget that. Because I was fixing to have to get out on the road, and I wouldn't have made it long.
How did you end up being here?
Well, I called,
Mm-hmm.
and Miss Sue comes up. I told her on the phone, I said, honey, I don't have no place to live and nowhere to go. She said, I'll be right there. In about 20 minutes, she pulled up. She said, told me who she was. Tall personal care home.
Mm-hmm.
Lord, I'm so thankful. You don't know how thankful I was.
You can stop it right there because he goes into singing for us and telling us about asking what his greatest desire. He was like to be married. He wanted to marry the music therapist that comes through, and he is a funny guy. But Mr. Bob came to us in very bad shape, and this is just an example as to what funding does. This is what happens when I stood in front of you in 2019, and you approved for just that little bit, where we went from receiving $20 a day to $40 a day for a resident can help. So I stand before you today saying that it's just a little bit that count. There is a huge need. I get calls every single day. I even have some of my sisters here that have personal care home, and she came to support me in the process. We constantly get calls about people needing place to stay, but a lot of time it's not the capacity is the issue as well, but that would be a matter for another day. But just being able to have that additional funding for those who don't come in private pay, if the county can just consider, whenever you do your budget, something that we can put in addition to what we receive for those who do qualify for the CCSP and SOURCE. I truly appreciate your time. Thank you all for allowing me to stand before you today.
Questions?
Awesome work.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, you could go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, actually, I chuckled earlier because, to be fully transparent, I was the one that said nay the first time.
Yes.
The reason I said nay the first time is because as commissioners, we tend to go off of what we know with a personal care home, that they're overcrowded, because that's what we were exposed to. And so we are trying to protect the citizens as well. Correct. But I must actually truly thank at that time my previous aide, and for whatever reason, Mr. Chair, saying that yes, we were going to go, but he really forgot we were supposed to be there, by the way. And we went out there in the snow that day, and I don't know if he remembers who you are. So I said, you made that promise, so you're going to go, let's go. And we went out in the snow. I will never forget it when your father greeted us. I thought this was imperative that at this time that it came before our board, because I see Mia Ballinger out there in the audience. You were one of the ones, and I see another parent in the audience with a special needs child. I heard you. I know there's a need. What I didn't share with you, I had the blessing of having my aunt who had special needs. And I could not imagine if she didn't have the love of a home like Ms. Tarr. So you came back and you made the home beautiful. And I can tell you, in going back to visit there, I saw you using every dime. I saw you making sure that the citizens were safe. And it's imperative that we know that one of them is a veteran that lived right around the corner in a beautiful home, went off to serve the country, and did not come back the way he left.
Exactly.
And so unfortunately, he was among those with special needs. So I thank you personally. I thought it was imperative that you came back before the board so that you could share how our approvals go a long way.
A very long
So
way.
thank you to you and your husband, who was our previous employee until you stole him. We're going to get up there. Thank you. He worked in T&D, getting the roads done. But no, thank y'all for your commitment. Thank you to Madam Chair. This is what community is about in Clayton County.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions?
Thank you.
Again, I do recall, it was cold.
It was.
See, he ain't as senile as he acts sometimes.
Thank you for what you're doing and for your presentation. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let's go to a request to amend small local business presentation. Central Services.
Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chairman, Board of Commissioners. Okay, thank you. Tonight I wanted to present on some amendments and revisions that we want to do on behalf of the SLBE program. Part of our task is the day-to-day of running that program, but we always try to look over what we've done in that year, the things we have accomplished, some of the things that we can do better, some more incentives that we can offer to our small local business community. So tonight I want to present to you, along with Mr. Mayor here, on some things that we have looked at that we think may be great things that we can do to continue to enhance the program. So I want to just give some background and an overview. The BOC approved the Clayton County Small Local Business and Procurement Non-Discrimination Program. This was approved back in November of 2012. We implemented the program in February 2013, so it was a very quick implementation within a couple months. The purpose of it was to prevent the county government from participating passively in any unlawful discrimination. So it is really about ensuring that any thing that we look at, any particular business we look at, to make sure that we're not underutilizing a particular service for that vendor. And this would be mainly for your disadvantaged businesses, enterprises, which is your minority, your women businesses as well. So the objectives. It is to promote and encourage full, open, and competition in all of our procurement purchasing. It is also to increase the purchase of goods and services from these particular minority and women-owned businesses. It is also part of what we do strategically, what the county is committed to doing, is making sure we're working with our local businesses that they can meet their capacity. So this is also a part of the economic development for the local economy, for the public and the private sectors. It also will increase their small local business capacity. We have done quite a few things, and we certainly appreciate the board in supporting us in those things. And certainly we're doing workshops, we're always doing events, we're doing initiatives, so there's a lot of different things that we do. We actually working really well with our stakeholders, including the chamber, the Clayton School of Business. We're working with them as well. It is a way for us to not really duplicate some of the same services. It is a way for us to make sure at least some part of the county is reaching out to our local businesses. So tonight we want to focus on some of the revisions. Let me get here. So I am going to speak on this one, which is pretty much to clarify our SLBE requirements and procedures and to make changes. You know, once we look at the code, there's certain things we know sometimes does not align in with what we do on other parts of the code. So to give you an example, there may be something that's listed inside of the SLBE ordinance that is something similar but listed differently in our procurement code. So part of this is aligning everything so that all the codes flow together. There's some other things that we're doing as well, but tonight I want to spend more time focusing on what the purpose was. So the purpose of these revisions, one of the purposes is to increase the understanding of the SLBE of the compliance part of the program. They may be familiar with the certification part, but we want to make sure they understand it is a compliance program as well. We also want to increase participation of capable SLBEs on county contracts and increase the monitoring mechanism of compliance in certification and contracting. I know you all are aware of the process, but once again, if we certify and we put a vendor on a project, we must ensure that the compliance is there. We must ensure if you told us you were going to use ABC Company for your subcontractor, ABC Company is actually working on that position. If they're not, there needs to be action that needs to be taken with the prime contract if that's not the case. So now I'm going to introduce Mr. Dave Meyer. And to give you a little background, when the county implemented this code back in 2012, we worked with a firm called Griffin & Strong. They actually was the one that drafted the ordinance with the Board of Commissioners at that time. And we work with them every year. So when we do our benchmarking to make, once again, numbers tell the story. Are we really getting done what we said we needed to get done? So we work with Griffin & Strong every year to do our benchmarking report, to look at the contracts that we have awarded versus what we have available in our small local businesses. So tonight, David is going to speak to you on the other two items we want to bring. One of them is an incentive for a sheltered market program. So I'm very excited about it. I think you all will show some great interest in that program. And then finally, he's going to talk to you about the compliance for penalties for false certification. So David is he's a partner of the legal counsel with Griffin and Strong, so he's very strong in his background. He's been working with us for probably about 4 to 5 months to make sure we have all the revisions correctly and legally we can do what we're proposing to do. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to present. My name is David Maher. I'm with Griffin and Strong. I'm with the legal division, but I also do work with their consulting side and implementation of policies and practices that are either in existence already or that are the result of recommendations that our firm may make as a result of a disparity study. But specific to the SLB program, one of the questions we were presented with was how can we continue to increase capacity? Right, in a goals-based program, you're generally doing subcontracting, and you're trying to build capacity through subcontracting. And one of the more innovative approaches we've seen in some of the jurisdictions that we work with is a sheltered market program, which allows these small businesses to act as primes on some of these contracts. And so the shelter market program sets aside certain contracts as eligible to be considered sheltered market program contracts. Those contracts can only be bid on by certified small local businesses here in Clayton County. And so you're competing against other small businesses rather than going against some of the larger companies who have a tendency to gobble up all the contracts that come available. And so the competition is from small business to small business. It allows these small businesses to act as primes on these contracts, therefore increasing their capacity, their economic base, but also finding out how to be a prime contractor with the hope that those firms then can become competitive with your larger firms in programs and contracts outside of this particular sheltered market program. And so we've been working with Clayton County to figure out what the best fit would be as far as what kind of contract should be eligible for it. So that's here in the proposed program. And just to briefly discuss it, the eligibility is contracts that are somewhere between $25,000 and $300,000 in size. So again, they're on the smaller side of your available contracts that will allow these firms to work as primes and increase their capacity, also helping the tax base here locally, of course. The other issue that was brought to our attention when we started to talk about this, improving the program, was what happens when there's noncompliance, either at the certification level or in the situation where you have a prime contractor who's using small local businesses for their subs. What happens if those subs are being either mistreated, kicked off the job, or just not utilized after the bid has already been awarded? And so we came up with a few more specific penalties for noncompliance. Of course, you always have your remedies that come with breach of contract, so those will always be in existence. But we have proposed a new section 2-1.52.3, which sets forth a couple of other remedies that the county can use to hold these primes to their commitments. The first of those is withholding 10% of future payments on the eligible project until the contractor is in full compliance with the program. The other opportunity is to withhold future payments under the eligible project until the contractor is in full compliance, or in certain circumstances, cancellation of the project and rescission of the contract as a result of the failure to come into compliance. And in those situations, there's also potential for debarment, preventing that firm from bidding on future contracts for a period of 1 year. So it was our belief that between the compliance piece and increasing the capability of these firms to work as prime contractors would be a good way to bolster this already existing, already successful program.
Thank you. And any questions?
All right, any questions from Mr. Myers or Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Commissioner Hambrick.
Small minority businesses and women What do you consider, I guess as far, well, you said what is considered small business.
Yes, ma'am.
And a lot of times I guess the primes may get a sub and say it's a minority business by using a female, but they use a white female. So do you all have any way of keeping up with those numbers, those figures, and say, because I'm sure when we say minority, we're thinking non-white, but with women, it's a lot of that goes on. So do we have anything to prevent too much of it, I guess you say?
Well, that's kind of beyond the scope of this program because it's a small business program, right? So small business includes non-minority firms, minority firms, women-owned firms. Any small business is eligible for this program. However, in the situation you're discussing, it is generally our recommendation that goal setting in the situation that you're talking about with a subcontracting situation, that the goal setting have separate goals for minority businesses and separate goals for women-owned businesses so that you can track, you can have different goal levels for participation, and then in the future you can track and see how that success is being achieved both as to minority businesses and as to women-owned businesses so that you can make any adjustments to your program that you might need to do.
Is that one of your recommendations? Or
It is not, because this is not a minority or women-owned business program. This is a small local business program that includes any small business.
Do we have any way of tracking that, Carol?
So we do benchmark the MWBE participation every year. So we do get that benchmarking report. Part of what we need to look at is if we're looking at an MWBE program with the goal base, that's when you look into the disparity study. So that is a requirement because that is challenged a lot more than the local one. Anything that's race or gender based, you're looking at, you need to have a disparity study. The last disparity study I think the county had was in 2008. So that would be one of the commitments we would have to make if we wanted to look at moving forward with putting goals on the minority women business enterprises. Part of the SLBE program, when we look at who's captured in that program, a lot of that, if not, and I'm just kind of, I'll be a little conservative, but I will say probably about 65% of the people that's certified in that SLBE program are minority or women-owned businesses. But if we want a full-blown MWBE program, we have to have a disparity study. And
right.
That is where that would be the next step.
Okay, so what's considered your local? Do you have a mile, a radius?
Right, we look at local, for now, we have about 10 different counties, so it's obviously Clayton, Henry, DeKalb, Fayette County, Spalding County. We've added to that Gwinnett, we've also added Rockdale County, we've added Cobb County, we've added a few other counties just in the metro area. So probably with the metro area, you're looking at about 22 counties if you talk about MSAs, but we're still at about 11 counties to make sure we have enough resources for when we do have these programs and we have goal based on the construction projects, we can have resources for that.
Yeah, I guess we can do this off. Sometimes I see these, I guess, primes riding around in their trucks and whatever, and I'm just wondering how many subs they are using, and if they're using any of the minority businesses as subs. So
right, and we do have a kind of a standard goal, and certainly we can talk our line of 30% that we use as a basis for our construction projects. So any building that's, we're going with that, it's going to be 30%. If we're doing roadway projects, it's 20%. If we're doing A&E projects, it's 20%. And once again, that is made up of the SLBEs, and once again, that dynamic exists with the minority and women inside of that SLBE program itself.
Do you all keep records or reports?
Yes, ma'am. That is, and so to the point of the compliance piece, we actually go on the job site. There is a reporting mechanism that's done every month where they have to go in and report. So before a project, we release the final retainage on any project that has those goals. It has to be cleared through our compliance division. So we work with the PDC or any other T&D to make sure before retainage is released that that vendor has complied with the requirements of the program.
And they keep that sub.
Oh, yes. Yes, exactly. And that's part of the compliance piece is going on the site, because when you tell me you have John Doe out there, I need to see John Doe in his documents.
Okay,
Yes,
Ms.
ma'am.
Paper. Okay, and one of the things that we've been dealing with, the county as a whole, with the businesses, and I think somebody mentioned that you all have a way of tracking this. When the business does not do work that's presentable, or we have to have someone else go back and redo what they've done. So what do we do? How do we do that? Or what do we tell the business? Do we continue to use them, or?
So that is a great question. There's two parts to that. So I'll be coming back with you all in November on the second part. But the first part is we do vendor performance evaluation. So that is a quarterly evaluation for every contract that the county has. If they get, if that rating is not, if they don't receive a great rating, then we send that information to the vendor and allow them to respond back to that. So the first vendor response the first request goes to the user department. Once we get it back, if everything is great, we file it, we move on. If there's a negative review, we go directly back to that vendor and we say, look, we have this report, explain what happened. That vendor will address that issue. We will determine, do we need to have a cure meeting with you? What do we need to document, right? Once we look at that, the next step is that we have options, right? We can meet with the vendor and say, how can we cure this? You know, within 30 days, this is what needs to happen. Usually 95% of the time, 96% of the time, that's what happens. If we can't cure it, then it's a breach of contract. We need to look at terminating that vendor. The purpose and the most important part of the vendor performance evaluation form is that we can actually use that form to make a vendor non-responsive to another bid. So if we know that vendor performed terribly on a project and we are made aware of it and we have the documentation, when we put out a project similar to that, we can look at that vendor performance on another contract and we can just say, you're non-responsive. We're not going to even evaluate you. So that's part of it. The second part is contracts administration, and that's certainly something I want to bring back to you all to discuss in November, is making sure that we have the capability, meaning the capacity and the staff to be able to actually monitor these contracts, not just check on them quarterly or check on them at the annual renewal time. You need a monthly monitoring. You need somebody in there actually working with all the parties, the subject matter expert, the vendor, the legal team, the finance team. You need to make sure that we have all of that together. So there are some things that we have in place and some things that we're looking at initiating in the future as well.
So what about inspectors? Do we have those? Does the county have inspectors?
So there is inspectors within the departments, right? So, you know, T&D or building and maintenance.
Right.
We have a compliance person that is dedicated to that, right? And that's the person that actually goes out to the site to make sure that the vendor, so we have a person dedicated to doing that from the SLB compliance piece. So they don't do the technical part because that's not, you know, obviously our wheelhouse, but the wheelhouse for us is certainly compliance and procurement, and that's where we show up at.
Okay, because one of the reasons I'm asking, because the Frank Bailey Senior Center, you can walk in the building, especially on the side with the exercise part, and you're walking and you hear something going, you know, like the roof is doing something, and the wind is not blowing. It's just a sound that's a constant sound or whatever. If anybody ever visit that, please, you know, hopefully we can at some point do something about that. Which brings me to this point, and I think Ben may have mentioned this at another meeting we had. How many years after, because I know that building has been there for a while, so I'm sure we can't go back to whoever did the building, and hopefully we're not working with them anymore.
And it varies because we look at the warranty document through the contract. So some things are, you know, what we call latent damages. You don't see it until after the building is actually working. So you can't know there's an issue until that, you know, until you're actually using that service. So the contract allows for that. The most important thing is that we get the communication that there's a contract issue, right? So that's where, you know, as long as we know that there's an issue, we've had, I would honestly say in the last month, we've had about 6 meetings to talk about contract, you know, issues, where we're meeting with vendors, we're documenting, you know, what's going on here. You know, we're just not going to issue a change order because you want a change order, right? You got to tell me why. You got to give me some history here. So it is a process that's ongoing. We're looking at we're using that VPE. It's a paper process now, so we're going to be automating that within the next month or two. That'll be easier for our user departments to get the information back to us. So we are there once we are aware of the issue.
Ben, has anybody ever mentioned that to you about the Frank Bailey Center? About it's kind of scary a little bit. And Tori, do you know what I'm talking about? I'm sure.
Yes, ma'am. We've been out 2 different times. We found a couple of issues in the HVAC equipment that we've addressed. We're going to go out and do another site visit and just work out there for a day so we can hear the specific thing that you're complaining about.
Yes, but just walk in the building and walk around the little track, and you will hear it. Just
yeah, we've heard some
it's like
issues in the HVAC stuff, but I haven't heard specifically what you talked about. You and I spoke while I was on site on the phone one day, but I haven't heard that specific issue. No, ma'am.
Okay.
But we'll go out there and do a work from Frank Bailey coming up and get something from the fantastic kitchen that's there
Let's
as
meet
well.
out there one day and see.
Chairman.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Commissioner.
Yes. Which disparity study are you all using?
I'm sorry, sir.
Which disparity study? I know there's a few different disparity studies. Is there a certain one you're using? Is it one created within Clayton County within the last, 15 years, I guess it would be?
The last one was 2008.
It was 2008, so we definitely need a new disparity study done for just here. That's one question. The other, for me, is even with Commissioner Hambrick and her center, if we begin to go back and look at a lot of the major issues, the issue that even Commissioner Franklin brought up at the last board meeting, a lot of these were not done by subs, they were done by primes. Problem I have is that I think internally we need to look at the bonding instruments that we use. What begins to push a lot of these subs out is that the bonding is not affordable to them. And we put undue burden on them to begin to produce this paperwork and others, whereas we're not doing that for the primes. Primes can start a business in August 1st and come out and start a business August 1st and get a contract September 1st. Subs can't do that. So in a sense, I want to see within this exercise the handcuffs taken off the subs and begin to allow them to move forward to do business. Because as I've seen, it is too difficult for black and brown to do business in the state of Georgia.
And actually, Commissioner, we met with the surety company probably about 2 weeks ago to look at some incentives that we can offer. The challenge there is that the surety bond is financial. It's not, obviously, it's not like your insurance. It is a collateral, so you have to have that money there. So it's looking at how we can make some of the packages smaller, but still making sure that financially we have a company in that space that can actually do the job. So there are some challenges there, and we're working with the surety company, one of our consultants, to see if there's some things that we have a few ideas that we're looking at, but ultimately we want to make sure that the county is protected.
Of course. And
So
I think we've got, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I know it won't make you feel any better, but it's a common issue that we see. We do disparity studies around the country, and some of the barriers to participation that we see relate to bonding and insurance requirements.
Correct. A lot of them are from the federal level. Do
Absolutely.
understand, but we've got to begin to step that down and get creative and figure out how do we take the handcuffs off of this, because the way that this SLB is set up, it is suffocating and, I'll be honest, very oppressive for me as a business owner. And it's very difficult to do business. And when you're dealing with these constructions, we want to see folks do good work. I even want to see the folks from Clayton County, whether they're black, brown, or even white business owners, I want to see them doing the work here in Clayton County because they're vested. But to see a company coming from Alabama or somewhere like that and come in and try to do work and then do not use these subs or bring the sub in because it's necessary, so they want to do the math so the paperwork looks good. That's not what I'm looking for. And a lot of the issues that have been brought up in the last several years have not been the work of the subs, it's been the work of the primes. But if we begin to go back and even to look at the International Park, if we look at the inside of that building that was done, that looks great, that was done by a sub. But what do we do to help them get more business? I just want us to begin to think about that.
And I think those are great points, and I think part of the compliance piece that we talked about, making sure that there's things that we can do when the prime does not do what he needs to do. And once again, it's about communication. If we're aware of that situation, we can certainly address it. So as soon as that is communicated to Central Services, that is the steps that we take. And we're constantly working with Griffin and Strong to look at some of the industry, I would call them industry challenges, because it's, unfortunately, it's just not Clayton, it's the smaller counties, it's any county, any municipality, whether it's federal or not, because Georgia's a little different because you have a construction law and we can't change the construction law within the state. We have to do that based on public works policy. And there's some things that has to be, I guess, the handcuffs have to be taken off on that as well, because anything over $100,000, it doesn't follow our procurement process.
Yeah, but now, with that, the state is actually looking at this upcoming session on increasing that limit to, I think it's either 250 or 300,000.
Yes, you're correct, sir. Yes, sir. And so hopefully, that'll give us some relief, and then we can start.
And the county
doing
can
some other
follow
things.
suit.
Yes,
if
sir.
they choose to.
Right, and yes, and that would be great, because once again, that 100,000 blocks us from doing a lot of things, because it makes a bond is mandatory at 100,000.
Correct.
Any other questions?
Not a question, Mr. Chair, because I don't want to prolong it, because I know you said there's a part 2.
Oh, even though going to be until November 2.
Yeah, but your part 1 was on the the small local businesses. But put a pin in this for me. I'm glad you made that statement about if we're aware. Unfortunately, I just left from some folks who find themselves working in our courthouse, and yet and still we continually approve that vendor. And that courthouse right now looks, it's embarrassing, to be honest. It's dirty. Things are falling apart. I was going in one day, and all of a sudden I heard elevator such and such installed, inmate stuck in the elevator. And attorneys have mentioned to me what happened to Clayton County. We used to have one of the best facilities. Why am I saying that? Because over and over again we approve CGL. Over and over again, I'm glad Commissioner Hambrick asked who's doing our inspections. We just approved NOVA again. So I hear what you all are saying, and I'm glad about the SLBE. I once went through the process before, but I too was one who the county went and got someone else who did not do the job well. The benefits still ain't where they need to be, and I can't even touch them, won't touch them. But we're approving primes over and over and over again, and with all due respect, it is noted. It's been noted several times, and it's not just when the building is up and running. Flint River was leaking before it was complete. So I am really excited about what you all brought here today, but I challenge you to make sure that you take that piece of paper we were talking about and find a way to put it on a PDF because it's a shame what I see. And because we're paying people to do it. And I really would like to see our county, Mr. Chair, go back to hiring people in our community to do these jobs, not just small businesses, but hire folks so they can have employee benefits, time off, because the companies we're hiring to do these jobs, and to even Commissioner Hambrick's point, they're not doing it. But we over and over and over again approve them again. And I say something about it, and we just pass it along. And it falls upon the directors to make sure that they are held responsible so that I don't have to beg for us to get our $500,000 back for a new building that is not correct. So I want to thank Commissioner Hambrick and Commissioner Davis for bringing it up, and I commend you all for the work you're doing, but I really would like to see us do better.
I certainly agree, Commissioner. I think it's important that the easy part is bringing the vendor on, right? But if you don't do compliance, if that vendor doesn't do what he needs to do, then per the code, we have no way of enforcing it. So once again, it's communication, and we are doing everything in our power to make sure everyone understands the importance of getting those documents back to us so that that vendor comes back in, we certainly would not allow them.
So you're saying we don't have our code in place to allow for you all to do what you need to do?
We do, but there is a process, meaning we have to have the documents to show what occurred. So I can't just do a hearsay, so to speak.
Oh,
so it just needs to be documented, and that's what we do with the quarterly reports. We document them.
I'm glad you said that. So that means Mr. COO and DCOO, we got all those beautiful emails, and I think some other people were there. So thank you. I'll be following up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I could, that also underscores the need to increase competition. Right?
Yeah, I
and the way
agree.
you increase competition is by growing capacity of these firms. And so that's why we recommend these kinds of programs, so that you can grow capacity locally so that you can increase competition.
Thank you for that.
Any other questions? Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
And thank you for what you're doing in this space.
Appreciate
All right,
it.
let's move on to, let's see, additional funding for transportation. Ms. Strouder-Tanks.
Good evening, Chairman Turner and Vice Chair Franklin. I consider it a privilege now to come behind Director Rogers because this is addressing exactly what she has been talking about. In your packet, you will see vendor performance evaluations that she spoke about. And so I've been working with Director Rogers to help the current vendor that we have come into compliance. I do have a correction about the verbiage that's on the agenda. I did enter that information into the agenda incorrect. This is the second bidding cycle under my leadership as a director, and I'm not asking you for $635,000. It is a huge number, but it is not that amount.
I guess I can scratch that question.
It is not that amount. And honestly, with me trying to be a very fiscally responsible director, this is not the capacity in which I plan to come and talk to you about transportation services in senior services. Right now, I'm sorry. So I do want to talk to you about the current types of transportation we provide within senior services. We provide medical transportation right now. We provide transportation to dialysis appointments, chemotherapy, and cardiologist appointments for seniors. We do fixed route transportation. This is transportation to senior centers, grocery stores, and routine doctor appointments. We do demand response, and that's where a senior can call us within a 24-hour period for us to arrange transportation to get them to a medical appointment or either to a fixed route. We also do coordinated transportation. I think some of you may remember we used to do coordinated transportation with CSA under Reverend Grant's program. However, it has been switched to the Community Service Board. We do not provide this transportation directly, but our staff coordinate our members who need to use CSB for transportation. And now we're currently doing in-house transportation, and this is where senior services staff, we directly provide fixed route trips using county vans. Now, I don't want to get this mixed up with our recreational transportation. We do that, and those are our trips that we provide to the movies and to all of the fun things that seniors like. This is much more serious means of transportation. Right now, we have a mix of funding sources. When I talk about this, I do want to talk about the complexity of the transportation that we provide. At present, the Atlanta Regional Commission distributes federal and state funding to us to provide transportation services. Everywhere where you see black is what I consider red tape. So with OOA dollars, this is the Older Americans Act. This is an act that came into play in 1965. This act has not been updated but once. So when this act came about, there was no Uber, there was no Lyft, there was none of that. So it doesn't even make any allowances for non-traditional transportation. We recently applied for a FTA grant because we are having issues with transportation. We did receive this grant. It is a pilot program. It's only $60,000 for right now, but if we spend the money down, it's a possibility that we will be able to get additional funding. And then the grant that I talked to you about with the Department of Human Services, this is comprised of about $120,000 that we received. We do not provide these services directly. As you see the red tape, we can only transport between the hours of 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. If a senior has an appointment after 2 o'clock p.m., we cannot provide transportation. So this is what our budget is comprised of. Last year was the first time that I asked the county to provide additional funding to provide transportation. With county funding, we have a little bit more flexibility. We can be a little bit more creative with the type of transportation that we provide. The problem is right now we're having challenges with our current vendor. Part of this is a senior services issue. We do have an antiquated service delivery model, and I will talk about that. So right now the current vendor, let me back up. I also need to change the language. We're not looking for a new vendor because I'm working diligently with Carol Rogers to work with the current vendor to see can we get that vendor into compliance, which you will see all the documentation that denotes that. So we're working with that vendor, but however, being proactive, if we can't work through that, I have to come up with a different plan. So we are trying to look to see can we add an additional vendor. So right now, the current vendor is not in compliance with grant requirements. We're receiving poor vendor performance evaluations. That is included in your packet. We're getting customer service complaints, a lot of them. Some of that is included in your packet as well. Our service model is extremely antiquated. Right now, we are only using Older Americans Act money, state money, to provide transportation, and the additional pot of money that I asked the county for. When you're using OAA dollars, you have to have a contracted vendor that can be monitored by the Atlanta Regional Commission. That means we can't just take the liberty if a senior calls us and say, I need transportation. We can't just automatically put them on transportation. There are some protocols that we have to follow, and then there's also some protocols that the contracted vendor has to follow. Now, there are ways that we can improve this, and I will talk about that. Right now, we're averaging only one response during the RFP process. The reason for that is the market rate for one-way transportation is currently $75 per trip. Transportation is not a cheap business. This is not an issue just in Clayton County. It's across the state of Georgia. It's across the country trying to provide transportation for seniors. Also, another issue is currently we do not offer cost sharing. And I know you may cringe upon charging seniors who are on a fixed income a cost, but cost sharing is very important. When a senior does not show up or does not cancel their transportation, we still get billed for that. To our seniors, $1 is something, $2 is something. Because if I spend my $2 as a senior, I'm going to at least pick up the phone and call or cancel my transportation so either I can get a refund back. Right now, we do not do cost sharing. Most other senior services department have a cost sharing model. So, the numbers that I'm about to give you are going to be startling because we're only talking about services for 49 people. 49 people. And the dollar amount is $407,755.08. That is how much it cost us to provide 10 seniors transportation to Griswold, 9 seniors transportation to Frank Bailey, and 30 seniors who go to their medical appointments. And this is at the one-way cost of $33.24. No one is bidding on our contract. So what we have to do is we have to become more competitive with our one-way cost for trips. If it is the board's pleasure to consider to continue with medical transportation. So I have a short-term solution. My plan was to take this year to work on a robust comprehensive transportation model for our county. However, because we're having this vendor compliance issue, I cannot gamble with the risk of someone not being picked up to go to their dialysis appointment or to their chemo appointment. So right now, I am asking the county for an additional $324,847. This is to continue the current transportation that we're providing with a new one-way cost of $75. With the understanding that I am working with Central Services to work on adding additional companies to be able to provide transportation. So this cost could possibly go down, but right now, until I can work through that, this is the ask.
So when you say $75, is that $75 for the driver?
So $75 is for the transportation and company to pick our seniors up, take them to the center. That's one way, $75. To bring them home, that's $75. This is door to door. So this is not just dropping them off. The driver is actually making sure they get, to their door. If they have any kind of issues, they're kind of helping them. So this is another reason why this transportation mode is so expensive. So this is the ask. This is a Band-Aid to kind of get us to where we need to be. I want to paint the picture because I told you the numbers. But if we use the money that we receive from OAA and the state, we can only provide 10 seniors transportation. We're talking about one senior, 312 trips. That's twice a week going to dialysis. If they have chemo, that's chemo and then a doctor's appointment. $75 is $23,400 per year and this is for 10 seniors. The other one is the state transportation. The coordinated state transportation is a little bit less expensive because it is state transportation and it is school buses, the little short buses like CSA had. This is that model. We can do 18 seniors and that rate is $6,708 per year. So this is what we've been managing for all these years. We've been able to do it because before COVID and inflation, we were reimbursed a higher rate than the actual cost of transportation. So the grant kind of covers some of this, but there has been no allowance to expand or do anything different. So my recommendations are we could use OA and state funding to provide medical transportation. So that means we would take all of the clients that we have that need medical transportation, pay for those clients out of the OA and state funding. Now, I will say this, state and federal funding is based upon what's going on with legislation. If there's a cut on the federal level, it impacts what we can provide on the county level. We've been fortunate enough not to have any cuts lately, but that is always something to be considered. We can expand transportation services to include transportation to Sona Singleton Gregory Senior Center and Flint River Community Center. Right now, Flint River is not a part of the model because when we did the ARC grant, Flint was not quite up and running, and so we needed some time just to get things going to see where we're going to add them to the service model. I would like to increase ridership at each senior center. Increase the per trip cost to be more competitive in the market. Procure more than one transportation vendor. Right now, it's just that one. If that vendor isn't working, we're in the situation that we could possibly be in now. So what I'm proposing is use MARTA. We've been having conversations with MARTA, trying to work through that. But we all know that MARTA is a 12-mile radius. So if the senior does not live in that 12-mile radius of the MARTA line, we cannot use MARTA. Common courtesy is what we really need to look at.
What do you mean the MARTA line?
The bus line?
Yeah.
If to do MARTA mobility, the senior has to live within a 12-mile radius of the MARTA line, the bus line. So like Frank Bailey is has a drop off. So within 12-mile radius of that, if the senior lives 14 miles outside of that and not in reach of another bus line, MARTA won't do it. Common courtesy is really the direction that we need to go. This is innovative thinking. I thought I had this worked out. I did a whole bunch of research, worked out the model only for OAA, which has not been updated. Older Americans Act. I was going to use Older Americans Act funding only for them to tell me that it is outside of the grant guidelines, that we can't use grant money for that. Common courtesy has been a lifesaver for Fulton, City of Atlanta. They use this. Common courtesy is an agency that's a third-party vendor between Uber and Lyft. They make sure that the drivers that are hired, have been trained to deal with seniors. They monitor the process. They work with us to make sure our seniors, get picked up and get transported, and it is door-to-door. I would also like to look at local transportation companies to see, if there are any that meet the requirements that Director Rogers talked about, so we can have a robust number of companies that we can use. I would also like to turn our current part-time transportation coordinator position into a full-time position. This is a lot of coordination. You're talking about grant guidelines and just a lot of compliance issues. I would like to expand recreational trips to seniors who do not drive to include nights and weekends. Right now, our seniors, they can only get to the center between the hours of 9 in the morning, 2 p.m., and I would like to expand that. I would like to add transportation to adjacent counties for doctor's appointment. Right now, we only transport in Clayton. If a senior needs to get to Emory, Fayette, we do not provide that transportation because our budget can't handle it. It's an additional cost at times. And I would like to add cost sharing. So this is my long-term plan. So the long-term plan I would like to do with right now we're currently serving 30 clients, right? I would like to take those 30 clients, reduce that number because some of those clients are not medical, they're fixed route. I want to take all the fixed route clients that are in OA money and move them down to county money. County is where we have a lot of flexibility. We can put our own monitoring standards in place. If we did this, I would use all of the OA money and CSB money to provide medical transportation. I would look at fixed route. These are our trips to the senior centers, doctor appointments and things like that. we could go from 19 to 180 seniors that are served. This cost one way would be $16 with common courtesy. That is an estimate. It could go lower than that, not higher, because that's the price point. It would cost us $490,640 to do this. I would also like to ask for additional pot of money for MARTA transportation, because what it is, we know we can't service that many people with MARTA dollars because of the limitations. And I'm still asking for a full-time transportation coordinator to help us with this. So the total cost is $927,746. We have $806,233,000. So that means for FY24, I would not ask you for $324,000. That's just the Band-Aid. I would only ask you for $118,000, $513 to make this new model work. And that's if it is the board's pleasure to continue in this manner. If we keep doing what we've always done, this is where we're going. I mean, and this is a budget just to up the one-way cost. We got to do that. Nobody is going to bid on the contract if we don't. So if we up the one-way cost and we keep doing the service model that we always do, just to do 15 members apiece at the senior centers and continue our current program that we're doing, it's going to cost us $1,444,000. I can't even say the number. $1 million, and the actual budget is only $595. So I am going to be asking the board, or somebody is going to be asking the board at some point, for $845,322 to provide medical transportation. So my course of action, if the board decides not to do anything or it takes us a while to make a decision, we've already done the research. We called our 30 seniors, 30 plus seniors who are getting medical transportation. Out of that 20, 17 of them have no other transportation to get to their medical. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on providing medical transportation using senior services staff and senior services internal fleet until arrangements with MARTA and CSB are in place. I have to do something with CSB. At present, we do not have a MOU or intergovernmental agreement with CSB, so I have to work on that to bring that back to the board. I'm going to focus on getting these 17 clients to their dialysis and chemo appointments. I'm going to immediately suspend non-emergency transportation. Recreational trips are not important anymore. I
want you to tell them that.
I will definitely tell them that. I've already started the conversation, because for me, I cannot sleep at night with someone who needs to get to their doctor's appointment as opposed to someone who needs to go to the movie theater. I will have to explain that if that is the board's pleasure. But the board, if you guys vote on my additional ask, all of this goes out the window. But until you do, this is a decision that I will have to make to temporarily suspend these services.
Ms. Director Strotter, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I was gesturing to him, to COO, sorry to say him. This is very complete. I served for 6 years as the vice chair on the ATL board, and you're about to put some people out of work with all the work that you have done today before this board, because it's fantastic. But as opposed to you continuing on there, I would like for us not to get confused based upon your ask, because I honestly feel if you continue down this road, it will be confusing. So let's stay with your 2 slides of the ask, which is really an awesome job. Before I go any further, I'm looking back at the date from August 17, 2021. We were dealing with, or actually August 19, 2021, the MOB services contract came into question back then. So we know that this is a broken record. We understand clearly, or I understand clearly, that doing the same thing, expecting different results, is really the true definition of insanity. And so with that being stated, I don't want us necessarily to go down the road of how you're going to have to explain what's not going to be done. personally, within just the vice chair capacity, I would like to go back to those 2 slides so we know what the options are and stay right there and focus on that. Is that fair? Is that fair, Mr.
Is there any
CEO?
additional information you wanted to provide in addition to those 2 slides that she's requesting? Because we don't want to shortchange your presentation.
No,
Whatever you
that's-
feel
actually,
like you need to
that's
say,
it.
you need to go ahead and
No,
put
that's
out.
it. I will say this, we have other long-term options that we can consider. I mean, DeKalb, Cobb, Fayette, they have found success doing their own internal
I was gonna say that.
transportation. That does take a little bit of research to find out like how many vehicles we would need and how to do that. But we could bring this in-house at some point, but it does require a lot of research and a lot of just making sure the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, because there is a certain risk to doing in-house transportation that you take.
I just want to say again, you're as far as your presentation is, it is phenomenal. Like,
Thank you.
It's phenomenal. I've looked up, I'm over here, I always look up these companies, common courtesy, because I want to know what their ratings are, things of that nature. They have about a 4.4 rating. They do a lot of the legwork that you would need to get done as far as getting those Lyft, those Uber drivers to get them there. You won't have to do all of the things such as the criminal background checks. They seem to help with all of that. So
Correct.
again, thank you for doing that legwork. Thank you for looking them up. They are using them in Atlanta. They're located in Florida, Virginia, and some other states as well. So again, I think that's going to be great for our seniors. Like you said, we could do all of that, but why do that when they can facilitate that? They have a call center, you can speak with them, all of the above. So again, I definitely would consider looking at them as a alternative to make sure that we get our seniors where they need to go. Thank you for everything that you've done, and great work.
Thank you.
You got
Yes.
anything else that you want to share through your presentation?
Chairman.
Hold on, sorry. You're good. Go ahead, Commissioner Davis.
Yes, couple quick items, and great stuff. When was that last bid done for a vendor, transportation vendor?
I
You don't know?
I can't.
That's-
I
That's
don't.
fine.
There just have been 2,
Yeah.
and there are 3-year awards. So
Okay.
yeah.
So, that's a legitimate answer for me. And also, I guess, with Ms. Jackson, can we get and run these numbers to find out really what our break-even point is on this?
I think she did that.
To begin to find that. I don't know if that was run through Ms. Jackson or not, but to begin to find that. Because my thing is, I don't want to begin to give a solution just for today. I really want to hear, what issues do you foresee, especially with the old version of the OAA that's out there? What do you foresee in the next 2 to 5 years as being situations that we really need to begin to look at now?
Well, the OOA Act has been revisited. ACL, the Administration on Community Living, has just submitted a robust document to have that changed. So probably in the next 4 or 5 years, we will be able to use grant money in a more creative fashion to be able to provide transportation. I do think that the county has some really tough decisions to make about medical transportation. That is where our cost is. We just have decisions to make. Do we want to continue to provide medical transportation? If not, I will mention something that other senior services department do. They have a Friends of. Gwinnett County does it the best. Gwinnett County has about $3.2 million in their Friends of. So if a senior needs a ride in Gwinnett, they just call their Friends of, and they work through the senior services department, and that senior gets a ride.
Explain a little bit more about Friends of.
So Friends of, it is a fundraising board, basically, and all you do, it's not attached to a board, it has no kind of political appointment to it. It's someone who has a vested interest. Senator Renee Unterman was really heavily invested in Gwinnett, and when she was no longer the senator, she started Friends of Gwinnett, and that's what it's for. It's not a political board, and that's all they do.
Mr. Chairman.
Hold on a second, will you finish?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
We talked about Friends of as well, and so again, like you're saying, we got to think of creative ways to service our seniors, to service people in general.
Correct.
And so again, Friends of would be a great way for us to come up with monies, things of that nature, so we can make sure that we have what we need for our seniors. Also, like you said, MARTA would be an excellent avenue for us to take. And as I'm looking at the common courtesy, it averages about, what, $14 a day, you said?
It does, and actually that rate could be lower because they have what they call, intergovernmental agreement, so we would get a better rate than a private organization would.
So those are the things we just have to take into consideration as a board.
Yes, sir. Hold on.
No, real quick, I just want to clarify again that your presentation was amazing. I just wanted us to look at your options because you gave us some really good options. That's all I was originally asking before Mr. Chairman stated what he was stating. And those options were what Commissioner Davis was just asking about, because you have done that detailed work on the numbers. And so you've done that work for us. So I think that you presented it well, so we just have to make that decision. When you talk about uplifting and bringing your own transportation, it's going to cause confusion because the county already pays taxes for MARTA. We already have a SPLOST that's going into MARTA, which is for transportation. So now what we're saying is, well, because MARTA has limitations, we're going to provide even more on our own to be able to provide these levels of service. So I think that your recommendation is definitely to be commended, and I'm just impressed with what you were recommending, and that's why I asked Mr. Ciola and you for just go back to those numbers, because that's really where we got to land. So if you could just go back to that, the difference, that's really what we need to do.
I mean, this is the short-term solution for where we are now.
Right.
Like to keep things where they are, not canceling trips to, recreation trips. This is just to keep things where they are until I can continue the research, because after working with Carol, who has done a great job with helping me with all of this, there are some contractual agreements, and there's a lot of things that have to be worked out before we can enter into, an agreement with Common Courtesy or another vendor. So we would need that amount of time just to kind of get us to this point right here.
So the other recommendation I would like to make, and I brought them in previously to the staff, is there is an opportunity to leverage our relationship with the ATL Transit Link Authority. When I brought them to us, we can actually have them come in, and we can leverage the ability to have those contractual agreements directly through them, because they already have those types of relationships. We did it through Pan American Services as well. So I would ask that you all get together with them so that you can have that opportunity, and may speed up your process is all I'm asking. Because we're partners, we're already members, they have that designated ability to be able to receive funds directly from the state. That's one thing I want the board to hear. The ATL has the ability to receive additional designated funds for transportation directly from the state, so that we can work through the process, so that we can quickly move from your short-term to your long-term resolution, which is actually brilliant. So thank you so very much for that. And then the young lady behind you, she actually has a transportation service, so I suggest you take a look at the small local business information so we can move forward.
Commissioner Hambrick.
Mrs. Tanks.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. These numbers, are these numbers for continuing service, new services? When will you begin?
Which, these numbers right here?
Yes, because I know some of these things we're doing already. Because I've heard seniors say that they...
This is where we are. So right now, you have at Bailey.
So you're asking for to continue where we are.
I'm asking to continue where we are,
okay.
But we have to increase the per trip cost, because vendors are not going to bid on a $33.23 per trip route.
Okay, so all these other numbers are like numbers for the future.
Yes, so this is current. This is the Band-Aid to keep us where we are, to keep us going, so we don't have to make any adjustments. This is where we ultimately want to land. This is where I think would be a long-term solution for us.
Okay, so can we work on The Band-Aid.
Yes.
Well, that's that 324, right?
The Band-Aid is the 324.87, which could be lower. I just need some time for us to just,
That will carry us through where?
That
How
would
many
take
months?
us to next
Rest of
year,
the year.
to the end of the year.
Okay, so have we checked with finance to
I
find
have
out?
not checked with finance. I just did.
She did presentation.
So I just
And
wanted to do the presentation, but we have a wonderful team. I have a wonderful deputy administrator who ran the numbers and assistant director. So it'd just be a matter of getting it to, yes. I mean, that's our next step, is to get it to finance. I mean, we won't do anything without finance, but internally, this is just a presentation we put together for you guys for the work session.
I think we
Yeah,
got
and
It would all go through finance.
There's additional funding mechanisms that we can tap into that you need to explore as well, such
Yes.
as maybe the ARPA funds might be able to be
Yes.
utilized for this as well.
And don't forget, the state just passed an additional tax that we have going through Uber and Lyft. I sit here and I listen and I'm like, we don't take advantage of our memberships. We really don't. ARC, you are working diligently and hard, but I'm texting because I'm like, we brought these resources in here. Over 3-4 years ago, we had $1.2 million at our discretion, and we just said, oh, well, we don't know how to use it. We don't know what to do, and it went back. So we've got to leverage those resources. So I honestly charge you all, because you're working hard. Your staff is working hard, but we don't have to do this alone. We don't. Please make that happen.
Mr. Chairman, I also want us to look at Friends Of. We need to kind of leverage what Gwinnett County and some of the other counties are doing and start looking at those programs. Because again, there is a plethora of things that we have out there. It's time for us to start using our resources, looking at what's out there, and if we got to copy it, whatever we got to do, but it works, and Gwinnett County is successful. So let's look at what they're doing and move forward from there.
That's a great point, but let me share this with you. We currently have discretionary funds that we are arbitrarily giving to MARTA. If MARTA is not serving us with those discretionary funds, I'm not talking about taking away the SPLOST, so don't nobody go back and tell them that. There are discretionary funds that are specific to us based upon our population that we do not have to continue to allow with MARTA. So what we can do is take that and leverage it. Also take the opportunity to be able to receive direct funding as a designated recipient through the 13-county region of the ATL Transit Link Authority, so that we can get this done now. You don't have to keep waiting. The ability to get the contract up and running, get the money in place, is as simple as a phone call away and coming up with a plan, and you've already got the plan.
And I agree with running with what we're doing, what Commissioner Franklin is saying. But again, we still need to leverage and prepare for the future. So again, I want to make sure that we're looking at Friends Of, that we're doing some of the things that we need to do to move forward.
I just want to respond to the Friends Of, and I know this is more, the Friends Of is a little complicated, because in my capacity as a director, it is a conflict of interest for me to be involved in formulating that. So that will just require some outside-of-the-box thinking, and at some point...
But we got to start thinking outside the box. That's the problem. We don't think outside the box. And that's why we're where we're at right now. So we've got to move, and we've got to move forward. So whatever we need to do, let's think outside the box and move forward.
Okay.
You got something? Anybody else? Thank you, ma'am, for your presentation.
My mama used to say, use what you got and get what you want. That is not it.
I don't know what you do. I was like, I don't know. Let's do it.
If we want to do that or not.
Just for the 10 minutes.
All right, we will not be having a presentation on items 5 and 6, so we'll go to 7, which is somewhere. 2024 benefits renewal. Number 7.
So 8 and 9?
5 and 6 we don't have. Oh, I forgot there's 2 more, about 12. To the left. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, board members. My name is Angela Woods. I'm the Human Resources Manager for Benefits Administration, Workers' Comp. First and foremost, Human Resources would like to say thank you for approving the discount premium program. We've been working diligently on the 2024 benefit strategy with our broker, Marsh McLennan Agency. As we prepare for open enrollment, we have Jack Thompson and Maureen Rosen with Marsh here to present the 2024 benefits package. And we'll be able to address and answer any questions or concerns that you may have. Jack?
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, Chairman Turner, Vice Chair Franklin, Commissioners Anderson, Hambrick, and Davis. It's a privilege to be here this evening to present the 2024 benefits renewal, both for your active employees as well as for your retirees. This first presentation says retirees on the cover, and just to keep it simple, retirees are first and then the active employees are second. We're going to talk first about what's not renewing, just to make sure that we cover that. Secondly, we'll talk about the Kaiser Senior Advantage renewal, as well as the Aetna Senior Advantage renewal, and then the dental renewal with Delta Dental, IMED, and then the transition benefit group. So what's not renewing is your basic life and the AD&D plan, the supplemental life, and the public safety benefit with New York Life, your voluntary short-term, long-term disability plans, as well as your employee assistance plan with Cigna Behavioral Health. And then the voluntary supplemental benefits with Colonial and Legal Shield, and then also the Sonic Boom Wellness Program. All of those do not renew, they just carry over. So the Kaiser Senior Advantage Plan is the first program. In 2023, the cost for that plan was $816,000, and it's split between the county and retirees. Generally, the county pays 72%, the retirees pay 28%. In 2024, Kaiser requested a modest 4% increase year over year. You'll see that the total cost increases to $848,000. In real dollar terms, that's $7.84 per member per month. In total, $32,000. So the county's increase would be $23,500. There are 347 retirees that are enrolled in this plan. There are no plan changes. We went back to Kaiser and requested rate relief for that, and they respectfully declined our request.
I like the way you say they said no.
There might have been an adjective or two in front of that, but it was no for sure. The Aetna Medicare Advantage Plan. Aetna provides us with claims data on these Medicare supplement programs, and not unlike other groups, or to say it differently, your pharmacy claims data for the Aetna Medicare supplement plan was up quite a bit. There are 457 retirees that are covered under this plan. They initially requested a 16.3% increase, about $190,000. And to give credit where credit's due, and I wanted to apologize to my team, Maureen Rosen and Tanisha Gamblin, and then our partner, Rory Callahan from Brown Financial Group. But to give credit where credit's due, Maureen went back to Aetna on a couple of different occasions and requested rate relief. They granted that to a 13.4% reduction, and then Maureen, being the bulldog that she is, reduced that to 12%. So the total savings from the initial renewal that was processed, just under $50,000. As I said, your pharmacy claims, specifically in the specialty medical, specialty pharmacy area, are up quite a bit, not only for your group, but for all of our groups. There is an enhancement for a WIG benefit, generally thought to be provided for people with cancer, due to hair loss. They also pay $15,000 a year in communication and technology funds. We used that last year to pay for the Transition Benefit Group Retiree Assistance Plan. This is consulting services for employees and retirees to help them prepare for retirement. And we have found that if you will help people that are thinking about retirement and people in retirement, if you create a vision for them and say it's okay to retire, that helps to transition them off of your active plans to the Medicare supplement plans, and it's a transfer of risk because these policies are fully insured and the premiums are locked in. So we have received high marks on our Transition Benefit Group services, not ours, but theirs from our other clients, and we think that's true for the county.
One quick question. Is that one of the minority vendors that's providing that service?
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay. Mr. Roy, what did you say?
It's a woman-owned business.
That's what I thought. I just wanted you to make that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. So the financials on this, last year, the total spend was almost $2 million. It goes to $1,313,000. It's a $9 increase per month. The final adjustment's 12%, or $141,000 increase. If you split that based on the 72-28 split, it's about a $100,000 increase for the county and about $40,000 for the retirees. All right, so the Delta Dental Plan covers both your active employees and your retirees. We included it here because it's a pretty light lift relative to the other renewals. You have two dental plans. One is a passive PPO dental plan. So the 2023 costs, there were 2,385 employees and retirees that were enrolled in that plan. The administrative services only premium, or ASO premium, was about $85,000. That's what you pay Delta Dental to process the claims, to provide the dental network, and all that they do. The claims budget was $1,477,000, so a total cost of $1,562,000. Your dental claims in the last 8-9 months have been pretty favorable. They've been down about 10% relative to what our actuaries budgeted for that. So in the 2024 plan year, you'll see that there's actually a reduction. The administration goes up slightly, about $7,400. And by the way, Delta Dental has guaranteed that a fee for 2 years. We are projecting, our actuaries are projecting a decrease in your claims, your dental claims, and so the total cost should go down about 3%. The total's 2, the claims are 3 when you factor in the administration. So we're looking at a slight reduction in costs for the dental plan, again, for your retirees and your active employees. You'll see that the county cost is about $1.1 million, and then the participant cost about $428,000. You also have a dental health maintenance organization. This is an HMO for dental plan. Only 162 employees are enrolled in this plan. It's a no change renewal. The annual premium's $45,000, and they've guaranteed the rates for 2 years. The county pays about $32,000 of that cost, and the employees pay about $12,600. iMed Vision renewal. It is a no change renewal. They've guaranteed their rates for 4 years. Down in the bottom left hand corner, you'll see that the Vision total annual premium is $249,000. They have added 2 enhanced benefits. If you will go to their I360 doctors, there's about 4,500 of them nationally, which is a select group within their much broader network. The eye exam copay is $0, and your frame allowance goes from $130 to $180. All other benefits stay the same. And so 97% of I-360 members who visit a Plus provider are satisfied with their benefits. Maureen did a search while we were sitting in the back. You have about 65 providers in this zip code area. So we feel like the network is good, and so the members can take advantage of the lower copay and the higher frame allowance as well. Additional services, the Retiree Assistance Transition Benefit Group, the fee is $15,000 a year. We paid for it with tech funds from Aetna, and we don't envision that changing. So largely for your retiree group, very modest adjustments. You might say the Aetna adjustment is a little bit higher. I don't disagree, but it's $9 per member per month. So your retirees and the dental plan for your active employees are pretty easy renewal this year. Before I move on to the active employees, any questions on those plans?
Any questions in reference to retirees? Okay, please proceed.
The next booklet that you have in front of you are for your two medical plans. One is with Kaiser. This is your commercial medical plan for your active employees. And then the second one, and the Kaiser plan is fully insured. And then the Anthem medical plan is self-funded. We'll talk more in a moment about that. So in regards to the Kaiser plan, their cost for many, many years has been fairly low. Their rate of increase has been low. That model has come to bear, meaning their costs are going up. I spoke with their leadership recently about that. The primary reason is because they utilize a lot of union employees, and their union employees' contracts are coming due. It's a 4-year contract that's coming due. And so their prospective rating trend is higher than what we would ordinarily see. Your claims are pretty good with Kaiser, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But because Kaiser is experiencing higher internal costs relative to prior years, their overall renewal is higher than we would ordinarily expect. Our actuarial department looked at your fully insured plan. We feel like you should have just under a 10% increase for the exact same plan of benefits. Your loss ratio with Kaiser for the last 12 months is 86%. So you pay them $1 in premium, they pay out 86 cents in claims and administration. Kaiser's trend is about 12%. Trend is medical inflation. Our actuarial trend or inflation is closer to 9%. That's medical and pharmacy together. So we feel like MMA actuarial feels like you should get an increase in the high single-digit numbers. We've gone to Kaiser and asked for rate relief, and the answer was no. So they processed initially, their formula renewal was just under 20%. They processed a 15% renewal. So the increase on the $2,000 deductible plan, you have two plans with Kaiser, is about $214,000 on that plan, but most of your employees are in the $750 deductible plan, and so that increase is 1.3, almost $1.4 million. So you add the numbers together, a total increase of $1,587,000. That's with no plan changes. So for the 2024 projection, the total cost of the Kaiser plan would be $12,131,000. The county pays 72% of that, and the employees pay 28%. So the county cost of $8.7 million, it's an increase to the county of $1.1 million, and the cost projection for the employees at almost $3.4 million. The overall increase year over year is $444,000. There is a wellness fund which Edward Lance spends feverishly for the wellness initiatives. That's $190,000. So we went back to Kaiser and said, we can't just present a 15% rate increase to the county. We need some options. And we went through that. We talked with the Human Resources Department, and they looked over the options, and this is what was decided for pricing. So the low deductible plan, where the changes that we have asked them to price is to increase the ambulance copay to $200 from $75, the deductible increase from $750 to $1,000, the emergency room increase from $200 to $250, and the office visit increase from $25 to $30, and the out-of-pocket maximum increase from $3,000 to $3,500. So those changes will produce a renewal of about 11.8%. And in a similar fashion for the mid-deductible plan, increases in the ambulance, the deductible from $2,000 to $2,500, the emergency room from $200 to $250, office visit from $35 to $40, and those changes produce 11.5. So when you blend those together, if you make the plan design changes, we're going to say that the overall renewal is about 11.5% in total.
Jack, real quick, I have a quick question for our fire department, though. As employees, do they get a discount on utilization of our ambulance services? I wanted to ask, because if we're increasing it, honestly, that's quite a bit. But if we're increasing it, do employees get a discount outside of this?
Yeah, so, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, historically speaking, we have not billed our self-funded plan, because in essence, we're billing ourselves. However, those Kaiser, Aetna's plans, the employees have been billed, or the carrier has been billed.
So the self-funded plan, we don't bill?
Historically speaking, no, we have not, because we're in essence billing ourselves, because we're billing the county.
I would like for us to go back and talk to Kaiser about that ambulance, to be honest. I think there's some leverage that you all could talk to with Chief Murkison, Chief Murkison and you all, because there is some pressure that's being added to your ambulance services until we can work out some things, so that may be an opportunity to come together. That just concerns me, because I don't want a employee not to go to the hospital via ambulance because they know they're going to get a $200 bill. That's my only concern. Can we do it offline? That'd be great. Thank you.
Please proceed, sir.
So with these plan changes, it would reduce the overall increase to $1.2 million, and we go through similar mathematics in terms of the cost splits, the county 72, the actives 28. So the county's cost is $8.4 million. It's an increase of $877,000, and then the employee costs about $3.3 million, and an increase of $341,000. Those plan changes will save about $320,000 is what we're projecting. Before I move on to the anthem, any questions on the Kaiser portion?
How many times did you ask them that they said no?
Twice.
Roy, stop laughing.
Twice.
Twice? Okay.
Please, let's move on.
All right, so the Anthem commercial plan is self-funded. And so the administration to process the claims, there's 1,023 employees, about double that in terms of spouses and dependents that are covered. They've asked for $1.56 per employee per month increase. It's just under 3% or $19,000 a year. So your new administrative cost next year will be $694,000. There is a wellness fund of $280,000. Again, Edward Lance and team work diligently with Director Ambles in order to spend that for the overall wellness initiatives for the county. The 2023 cost, if you look at the components of a self-funded medical plan, you have administration, you have stop-loss premium, which basically caps your claims at a specific level, $175,000 for your plan. We have the budgeted medical and pharmacy claims, and then we have the pharmacy rebates. MMARX Solutions, our consulting service, works diligently with Caroline, who is Anthem's pharmacy benefit manager, to negotiate these pharmacy rebates. So your total cost in 2023 is estimated to be right at $14 million. Next year, as I said, the administration will go up slightly. The stop-loss insurance is currently being worked on. We have to have claims data through August the 31st. We will have that claims data later this week. That goes to our stop-loss center of excellence. It goes out to the marketplace, and we're looking to firm up, meaning lock in the stop-loss insurance. Our actuaries are projecting that your claims cost, if you leave the plan the same, will be $13,948,000. We were able to negotiate a more favorable pharmacy arrangement of about $100,000 of additional savings. So we're projecting your cost next year to be $15,391,000. That's a 10% increase year over year for the exact same plan. The county would pay 72% of that increase, $1 million, and then the employees would pick up the difference at $394,000. We went through a similar plan design modification. The low deductible plan, and you heard the changes, they're identical to what we talked about previously, and the same thing for the mid deductible plan. So if you were to process that, it would save you about 1% in claims cost. So if you look out to the right, the 2024 projections, administration's the same, the stop-loss premium is the same, your claims come down slightly. We heard about rebates, so total plan cost of $15,290,000. So it's a 9% renewal, and the county pays just under $1 million of that, and then the employees would pick up the difference. Before I move on, any questions on the Anthem self-funded medical plan?
Yes. We just heard from our chief that we don't charge our employees for ambulance, so I just want us to again look at that. Okay.
Very well. So here's the request that I have of you tonight. We present this to you for consideration to think about. We're available to answer questions through Director Ambles and team. We would like for you to vote on and approve everything except for the Anthem self-funded medical plan next Tuesday in the regular working session. We will be working in the next 2 weeks to firm up the stop loss, to lock that down and come back with definitive recommendations there. Last year, we carved your stop loss out. We took it away from Anthem because they weren't competitive, and we gave it to Voya. And that saved the county over $400,000 when compared to the Anthem stop loss renewal. We also negotiated as part of your contract a no new laser, which means that if your specific deductible's at $175, a laser can be, well, but for that individual, it's $400,000 that you would have to pay. There's none of that. There are no lasers in your stop loss contract. And we negotiated a 40% rate cap as well. And having gone through some renewals, a lot of renewals lately, that's a very important provision. The illustrative or preliminary stop loss renewal that we got from Voya is about 13%. And you saw the numbers previously. We think pretty good about that. So again, we're marketing your stop loss to 13 carriers, and we should have final firm numbers on the week of the 27th, and we will ask you to vote for the Anthem self-funded medical plan on October the 3rd. If you will please do that, approve everything except for the Anthem plan next Tuesday. It allows our teams, your HR teams, our teams, to process it, the entire renewal, get the benefit guides done, get the Medicare stuff out into the mail do everything, set your benefit administration system up, your payroll deductions, all the stuff that we do behind the scenes. And then if you will vote on October 3rd to approve the final recommendations for your self-funded medical plan, then that will allow us to finish that. Our goal is to open the open enrollment window up the week of October the 16th, sometime that week. And we're working with Director Ambles and team in order to hit that stated goal and deadline. We think that we'll be able to meet it. So
I'm sorry. One quick question. So you're separating the approval. So you're saying that you all are good with the rates for what you're asking us to approve in the next board meeting?
I don't think we're going to wring any more savings out of the carriers for all of the lines of coverage except for the self-funded medical plan. So I think y'all need to make a decision. Do you want to process the suggested plan design changes, or do you want to leave the plans as is? And we're fine either way, but if you'll give us approval for that, then we have a long way to go, a lot to do to get ready for open enrollment. And then the only thing left is to vote on the self-funded medical plan, and the only variable there is the stop-loss insurance. And we can work with Director Ambles and team to get some information to you prior to that, so you're not seeing it for the first time then. But we have a pretty good idea of what that renewal is going to look like, and barring some unforeseen circumstances, we think we're in a pretty good place there as well.
Okay, good. Thank you for that.
Certainly.
I do have a question. So, with everything as stated staying as it is, we're still looking at an increase of roughly our premiums about 11%.
Yes.
For the county.
10% overall. If you were to blend
yes.
the two medical plans together, about 10%.
Well, you finished with your presentation. I know we started asking questions. Did you have?
I think that's it.
Okay, right on time then. Any other questions?
Only thing I would ask, Mr. Chair, is because the increase on the employees would be significant for them, possibly individually, and that cost of living is so high that the board would consider to absorb that. I want to bring back to our attention that we gave $7 million to the hospital, but our employees, are struggling every day, and we just gave them a raise. And it seems like, as employees always say, that as soon as we give them a raise, it seems like their benefits go up, although y'all have nothing to do with that part. But I would like for the board to consider to absorb that increase so that our employees would not have to absorb it, to give them some relief during these difficult times, because that amount was not that significant that we can pass along that savings to the employees. That would just be my one suggestion.
Sure.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, sir, for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Heartside Living Faith bond application, community development.
Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, and Commissioners, good evening. We're here today to present the results of the study that was approved, the first meeting in August for Heartside. They procured a company, Mosaic Community Planning, to do the study. And tonight, they're here to present the results of the draft study. And our plan is, after tonight, we will be placing the request for the board to adopt the study in the first meeting in October. So I would like to introduce the lead study person, Mr. Jeremy Gray. He's the lead on the study, and he's with Mosaic community planning.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for having me this evening. My name is Jeremy Gray with Mosaic Community Planning. A couple of other representatives here from the Hearthside Project. I just want to point them out, although I wanted to focus our time on this revitalization plan. But we have Pastor Tuck from Living Faith, and we have Daniel Feinberg from One Street Residential also here with that project. So as Mr. Ejike pointed out, this is a plan that the board approved August 1st, that we would pursue this plan. So we have developed it, presenting some highlights from that plan to you this evening, and hope that you'll consider it for approval at your October 3rd meeting. Let's see, I think I have, good, okay. This plan is developed to accord with Georgia Department of Community Affairs standards for community revitalization plans. So we've designed this plan to meet those state standards. What we're looking at here in this plan are some current housing and demographic data, some new community input that we collected, and then also some existing strategies and resources that are found in other existing county plans that we were able to pull in and use as resources to support this study. I think in keeping with that, it's important for me to mention when we get to the implementation measures, we'll look at those. It's the last slides here. They're all things that are already out there. So the board has already approved in various forms, part of your comprehensive plan, and for the most part, all of the funding sources and programs, things like that, that we would bring to bear in this particular target area. Oop, that goes fast. So the target area, wanted to point it out, this is completely within District 2, so Commissioner Hambrick's district. You can see it's a small pocket there, kind of beginning where Terra Boulevard intersects with I-75. On the west side there, that's Garden Walk up to Highway 85. It's Lee's Mill across the top, and then Southfield Parkway. And then on the east, that's basically Jester's Creek. So that's the target area that we are planning for. Within that, I'm going to highlight a few of these on some slides and show you some highlights from the contents of the plan. Basically looking, first of all, at some demographic data that we pulled, and then looking at each of these three areas, so economic development, housing, and infrastructure, and some revitalization opportunities within each of those categories. So looking at this is just two examples of some of the new demographic data that we pulled in from the plan. You can see we're comparing here the target area to the county as a whole. And so within our target area, there's a larger share of Hispanic residents. It's about 62% African American, and a smaller share of white residents than the county as a whole, but larger share of Hispanic residents. Residents in the target area have lower incomes generally than residents of the county as a whole. You can see those income bands, the ones ranging from about $15,000 up to about $49,000. Those are all larger shares within our target area than in the county as a whole. So then looking at housing, first of all, as one of the areas that this plan studied. Housing stock within this target area tends to be single-family detached. That's the largest share, although that share it makes up a smaller share of the housing stock than in the county, where you can see that's about 65%. It's about 46-47% in the target area. What the target area does have more of than the county as a whole is kind of small-scale multifamily housing. So these are units that are in buildings or complexes between 5 and 19 units. One other difference, though, is the age of the housing stock. So you can compare the target area to the county as a whole there. And you see it's about 60% of the housing in the target area is built prior to 1980. For the county as a whole, that's about 35%. So a big change there in the age of the housing stock. Some stats there in the bottom corner about cost burdening. So that means households that are spending more than 30% of their incomes on housing costs. That's a higher percentage of the families that live in the target area. Rent is relatively even between those two. But all of this data then, and also some community input that we receive, suggests to us a need for newer housing stock within this target area, a need for more affordable choices. Residents in this area have less income and tend more likely to be cost burdened. And also coming more from the community input, senior housing is something that we hear a lot about every time we've interacted with the public around this project. Then looking at economic development assets and needs. You can see here some of the varieties of jobs that are available in our target area versus the county. It's a smaller share than the county, but the largest group of jobs within this target area is related to transportation and warehousing. After that, you see healthcare. Beyond that, you see retail and wholesale trade. Despite those types of jobs, there are, we hear from residents, needs for other types of retail that don't exist currently, things like grocery stores, things like restaurants. We also know, because of those couple of bands there at the bottom, especially transportation and warehousing jobs, there are opportunities to train people for jobs that already exist in this neighborhood, so to help these residents obtain jobs in the neighborhood where they already live. And then looking at infrastructure within this target area. A couple of the things, Clayton, this portion of Clayton County is a gateway. People are initially coming into the county at this interchange off of the 75 and Tierra Boulevard, coming down from the airport and some of the warehousing facilities that are just north of this area in Forest Park. So there are opportunities, I think, to improve the appearance of streetscapes and things like that within this area. It's the first some people who are traveling through will see of Clayton County. Garden Walk is the trail indicated on this map that's right along the southwest edge of our target area. So that's something, again, already in county plans. I don't think that particular portion of the trail is very advanced in terms of implementation, but it is already out there as an idea, already adopted and supported by the county commission. MARTA and the BRT nodes, those are kind of also along that southwest side of this. So there is coming investment in transit infrastructure that will support this neighborhood. And I think I already mentioned sidewalks as another opportunity here too. So then I'll just highlight a few goals. These are comprehensive plan goals that the county has already kind of consulted its stakeholders and residents on. You've already arrived at these. They're not even very old. And so we wanted to reuse these and see some of these, I think, apply very specifically to this neighborhood and needs for revitalization. Things like ensuring affordable housing for all residents, things like improving walkability, connectivity, transit services, promoting and supporting economic development and redevelopment. These are all already county priorities that reflect needs in the target area. And finally, last two slides here are just copies of the implementation plan that goes with this document. And I'll just say it again, these are all things that we pulled from existing other county plans. So there's nothing new to this. But some examples here, that top one, for example, coordinating with Atlanta Career Rise. So helping build career ladder pathways for people to access logistics industry jobs within this target area. That's an ongoing effort of the county. You see here on this page a few others. There is already SPOS funds programmed for things like sidewalk improvements. So, to the extent that some of those sidewalks could be improved within this target area, those are already a priority. That's already funding that's marked for that purpose generally in the unincorporated county. And other things, maybe there at the end, a road safety audit, that's along State Road 85. That's looking at state and federal funding that's providing that. Also already in the works, already budgeted, and something that we expect will happen in the future, but does improve access, transportation within this target area. So those are the highlights. I didn't want to take too long to go through all the details with you, but I wanted you to have a sense of what's included in here. So I'll stop there, and I'm happy to answer questions if you have them.
Okay, any questions in reference to the study? Yes.
On your study, did you look at also connecting like walking trails, things of that nature?
Definitely, yes. So that District 2 map that showed planned trails,
They're in there.
I think, yes. We would love to see some of those happen.
Yeah, I like to see a belt line. Look at me playing out the district over here. But I like to see, like, even throughout Clayton County, like I said, as we continue to think outside the box and look at other, other things, like you said, why reinvent the wheel when you can look at Gwinnett and you can look at some of the other places in the city of Atlanta. And so the Beltline, things of that nature, I think that would be good for that area with the shops and the food and the restaurants right there, and and bringing in those small businesses right there in your area. So I think that would be I'm glad you added the trails as well.
Good.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, quick question. Did I miss it? The senior living facility?
Yes. So this plan doesn't specifically address that, although I think that fits into this plan. This plan we're developing it because it's supportive of that facility. So yes. I may not be the best one to answer questions on that facility because we worked on the plan, but we can answer questions if you have them.
We've had a presentation on the senior.
Okay.
Where are we on that?
Her question is, where are we?
We do have a question on that.
Mr. Ajiki.
Yes, Commissioner, this study supports that project. This study is for them to submit the funding they are seeking from DCA.
So this helps?
Yeah, this helps their project. And
adoption of the plan helps.
The adoption of the plan by the BOC, and they're going to submit the study in itself to the DCA to do the project. The plan that you saw when they came the first time, the design still remains in place. That design has not changed.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when we get to that, I have some questions
Okay.
at that time.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, I guess for me, I really would like to see that plan incorporated into this presentation to really begin to understand the parameters from the geographical standpoint, as well as the economic development standpoint. For me, I'm not getting it here.
Okay. Sure. So I think
I told this district too.
But when you speak about that 1941 corridor, that's District 4.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, you need 3 votes, so let's work together.
I think to your point, though, they are separate. However, the adoption of this is favorable to the
plan.
The points that the project can be awarded by the state when it gets to that point. Did you want to add to that?
Commissioner, on the 3rd, they will present the project that this will effectuate. So they will bring the project on the 3rd.
Thank you, Mr.
He's on board.
You can tell it's getting late. Boy.
He's going to vote for it.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, sir, for your presentation. All right, let's go to, did you have something else, sir? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to the jail project update with Sheriff Allen.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, on behalf of the Sheriff's Office, I would like to give you an update on the projects previously approved and additional requests for the future. All right. So, just want to make sure it's very clear that every 4 years when a sheriff runs for sheriff, he inherits whatever the issues were prior to that sheriff taking office. When I was appointed in December, I immediately did an assessment of what was needed and how do we move forward in the future. With that assessment, we had light fixtures that needed to be replaced. We had door locks, jail fencing, the jail exterior cameras, toilets, issues with leaks in the jail windows. With the light fixtures, they're old and outdated, where the inmates were able to manipulate them and create homemade or in-house shanks. Some of the shanks that come from these light fixtures, they could use in top shelf to cook with. With the door locks, it was something similar. As you lock a door, the inmate could, if you just think how maybe if you locked your bathroom door, you would use any type of business card or credit card to open it. They had access to open and lock doors better than we had. The jail fencing, the perimeter around the jail was minimum to say. It was one fence around it. At some point between 2004 and 2008, there actually was razor wire added to the top of the fence, but the fence itself that secured the jail was just one fence, about 12-foot fence. The jail exterior cameras around 2021, I noticed that we had no cameras on the outside. Anything that happened outside of the jail facility, in the courthouse parking lots, anywhere, we had no eyes and we could not see. The jail toilets, just over the years, the toilets had needed to be replaced over 23 years, and there were a lot of leaks and a lot of issues with the toilets that we needed to replace. And also with the jail windows, with the lights, the inmates were able to take the wiring with the ballast, take the wires to the plexiglass, draw a hole, and able to make it where they could use their sheets and their net bags to get materials into the jail facility. So what was taking place was that the inmates would conjure up a plan with the other criminals. They would come on the outside, they would take bolt cutters, they would cut the fence line, and they would run inside of the fence in about 30 seconds, go to the basket that was made with the sheets, and then they would place items in the basket. They would pull it back up through the window. So the members of our maintenance CGL was able to identify a grate that we could put over that window to prevent that. Along with the extra fence and along with the barbed wire, we prevented those issues. So here's the update on what took place. The jail toilets, the board graciously approved back in December about $384,000. That was to replace 64 toilets. As of today, 28 toilets have been replaced. It costs about $6,000 per toilet, and it takes about 14 to 16 weeks to create or build a toilet from scratch. From my understanding, the way that this facility is built, designed, the plumbing, it takes this unique toilet to work. It's not like you can just go to Home Depot and get your $200 toilet and place it there. Because of the plumbing and how it's designed, this is what's required. We believe that this project will be complete December 22 of 2023. Next. The camera system. This is twofold. So one, there is the regular cameras that comes with the jail. That's the normal video cameras that were down. We noticed that those cameras were down back in December of 2021. Since December 2021, there has been an ongoing plan to fix and to bring those cameras back online. We were told that those cameras will be back online within 2 weeks. But what we did in the meantime was we purchased or leased the camera you see to the right. It's a parking lot camera, something that you would probably see if you went to Walmart, Home Depot. And that gave us the ability to see outside of the jail, see around, record audio, and that particular machine costs about $60,000 per month. Next.
For one machine?
I believe we have 4 of them.
60 per machine?
We have
For
4. For all of them.
For the total.
For the total.
Thank you. Per month?
Yes, ma'am, per month.
Are they monitoring these?
Yes, they are being monitored,
So
yes.
monitored outside of the jail?
Yes, sir, they are.
15 grand a camera.
Yes. But it's either 15 grand a camera or nothing. So we also was able to secure an additional fence. The board approved the money back in December. The fence project itself, when dealing with or adding the barbed wire, we have to come back and ask for an additional $700,000 to add the barbed wire to the fence, the razor wire to the fence. So the idea is, as you can see in this picture right here, that's what's traditional, that's what's there now. You have the fence, and then at the very top you have the razor wire, the barbed wire. Well, what that essentially would prevent is if you had an inmate that was trying to escape, he's going to climb over the top. I guess he would not make it over the top because he would cut himself up. But what we're dealing with is people not trying to break out of the jail, but people breaking into the jail. So when they go to the fence, they would never even touch the top. They would go to the bottom, snip it, cut it within about 30 seconds, and slide in. So what we wanted to do was place razor wire about 4 feet high. Is it 4 feet high?
From the ground to 4 foot up.
From the ground to 4 foot up. That would then prevent that. They would pretty much cut themselves up if they were trying to get in within 4 feet.
Sheriff, why would they want to break into jail?
You know
Well,
why.
excellent question. It's a very lucrative business, criminal enterprise there. So what happens is a cell phone at the jail probably is about $2,000. So what'll happen is the inmate will get on the phone and he'll say, "Hey, can you please bring me a cell phone?" They'll say, "Okay, yeah, I'll bring you one." They'll go buy one from Metro PCS for $200, and then they'll come back and sell it in the jail for $1,000. So
They get $1,000 in jail.
It's a hustle.
Why you asking me? I ain't been there.
No, so it's not in the jail. So what they do is
That's
they
the hood
call
training course,
they
Commissioner.
call their families to cash app the other person the money. So it's not like the money's in the jail. They're calling them on the outside to do it.
My cousin gonna cash app you.
There you
Yeah.
go.
So then that's how they're getting. But I wanna. You'll see the whole shortly. But I wanna just let you know, if they could get a cell phone in the jail, they could get a gun in the jail.
That's true.
Yeah. So that is why we're asking for the additional funding on the razor wire. Next.
Is it the razor wire or the wire?
Razor wire.
Razor wire go under, bottom, underneath?
Yeah, he wanted for the lower part.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am. So this is the new light. There is approximately 800 lights that need to be replaced. This is the new one that prevented the inmates from making the shank. So this is what we installed. Right now, we have about 162 lights that need to be, that's left, and we're thinking about October 19th that should be replaced, should be complete based on what we're receiving from our maintenance. Next. So this is the jail window that's inside the jail cell of an inmate. If you can see, I'm not sure how close it is on where you all are, but you will see a steel grate on the outside of the window with holes in it, and that's what we installed on the outside of the window. The one up top is the inside of the cell window, and on the outside, you see that's what it looks like on the outside. Well, those steel grates cost $215,000 to put those there. But that's what was needed because they were, again, cutting the glass, and then if they were to cut the glass now, they couldn't actually get out the window to get anything in. Next. That project has been completed. As you can see, that is how they were cutting a hole, and that's someone's hand, their fist that they could fit inside of.
The glass is a weapon as well, though, because if they're cutting the glass, that becomes a weapon.
Correct. So they were also using that as well. Next.
So do we continue to put glass up?
No, so what prevented it was the light change. So before we changed the light, the ballast was in the regular light, and they were using the cord to move over and to cut it. So once we eliminate them from being able to do that, that stopped it.
Got it.
Now, that is an update on the projects of the funds that was given previously. Now to the fun part. Justice Complex was designed or put in plans in 1998. It was opened in October of 2000, approximately 23 years ago. Justice Complex is 727,000 square feet, and it cost $121,000 for the entire, correction, $121 million for the entire.
We got to steal somewhere, boy.
$121 million for the entire complex. Today, if you look in the very back, in the picture, you see 4 honeycombs or 4 structures in the back. That is the actual jail itself. When today, to just get one of those created or one of those built, it costs $300 million. Just so you know, the jail is stacked on top of each other. And I'm going to walk closer, but I'm going to speak loud. In the jail, you have 8 housing units. In each housing unit, they're stacked on top of each other. So here you have, at the bottom, you have housing unit 1 and 3. Then at the top, you go through an elevator, you have housing unit 2 and 4. Then you go down a hallway, you have housing units 5 and 7. Then you go up, you have 6 and 8. Each housing unit holds 192 inmates. So for one honeycomb, top and bottom, you can hold about 400 inmates. Here, on this design, just so you know, this is what you're looking at here. They're in the blueprints or in the plans 23 years ago, where you have these dotted lines in the back. This is where it was designed for an expansion whenever the counties deemed it necessary to expand the jail with 2 more of these honeycombs. So up here, I know you only see 4, but when you see it here, that was for the future plans back in the day. Here we go. That's back in 2000. They said, hey, at some point y'all are going to need 2 additional. We have the spacing, we have the plumbing. They put everything there for if in the future we decide to expand. All right. Next. Jail operations. Just so you know, the jail intakes inmates from several agencies. You see the Clayton County Sheriff's Office, Clayton County Police Department, Jonesboro Police, Lake City Police, Forest Park Police, College Park Police, Georgia State Patrol, the City of Atlanta Police Department, Riverdale Police Department, Morrow Police Department, Lovejoy, States Pardons and Paroles, fugitives from justice from all over, and also we get calls from the airport from Immigrations and Customs. All of those people come to the Clayton County Jail. As you all, the board knows, 90% of the airport is in Clayton County, and anytime there's an arrest at the airport, they come to Clayton County. Next. In 2022, we had an average monthly population of 1,792 inmates. We processed and booked 17,000 people last year during the COVID, during the pandemic. We processed in and out 17,000 people. Next. This year, up into this month, we are sitting at about 1,800 inmates. Total sentence felons, 371. Total state inmates, 11. Booked in 759 in August. Released in August, 736. Number of booked year to date, year to date, we're at 14,839 inmates. Just want to bring to your attention the one that says state inmates. It's not like we're boarding inmates. That is inmates that we call back for court. They're for whatever reason, they're witnesses or they caught additional charges. Next.
Sheriff,
Yes,
quick,
ma'am.
go back to that. You have the sentenced felons, so they've been sentenced and they're remaining in our jail? Can you clarify that?
Yes, so those are sentenced felons. So either they have been sentenced and they're waiting to go to prison, or they've been sentenced and then they have additional charges at some point and while they're still here.
Question, what's the average time frame that somebody remains in either of those situations with us?
During my daily walks in the jail, I came across someone who has been here 3 years.
In that situation, they're waiting for
They're just waiting to
be transferred?
They're waiting for court. They're waiting for indictments. You know, that's the highest I've heard is about 3 years.
Who pays for them when we're still waiting?
Oh.
The county. So let me make sure I get this right. So you're saying that some are waiting for court, they're sentenced, but they got another court proceeding they got to go through because they have additional charges.
Yes.
And so, but they've already been sentenced as a felon, so normally they would be in a state
Correct.
prison.
Yes, normally.
Mr. Chair, I think we need to figure out how to way to get our money back on some of those. I believe we're not accounting for that. I would like for us to look into that. I had a conversation real quick. I know Commissioner Davis knows Chair Jones, Commissioner Davis. His wife actually works in that area. She brought to our attention some time ago that we were paying over the amount we should be paying for inmates that are still in our jail. I'm guessing that's probably around the 371 mark. So we need to do some research on that and get some money back for them.
Next.
But if you're talking about funding, then just go after the city of Atlanta to tell them to send them to Fulton County or to increase the pay. Because I believe you do have the authority for that.
But they can't.
Say one more time.
I said either tell the airport to send those folks that get caught at the airport to Fulton County.
No, you can't do that.
It's not by state.
No. So what has to happen?
Jail.
If they're in that 10%, and let me tell you, the 10% of the airport that's in Fulton is your rental car.
Yeah.
Your rental car
rental
area.
car and the ticketing.
So, yeah, so if they break into a rental car, but that's normally not what's the case. Normally the case is stolen baggage. They're at the baggage counter and they get upset because they can't do something. They're riding the MARTA. All that is just on us. So I don't have the option of sending them.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I don't have the option of sending them. Now with customs, when they call and say, hey, we have somebody that want it. Now, we could say, hey, try Fulton first, but ultimately Fulton says, no, there's still a wanted person in our county. Because if Fulton says, hey, I'm not coming to get her, well, they'll still release that person to our streets.
But that ticketing and runway 1 is in Fulton County.
What about
You got a little attitude with that. You tired? Are you tired?
Runway 1.
Yes. They get arrested everywhere.
Drink your water. Drink your water, Commissioner.
Sheriff, what about the North Terminal?
No, all the terminals, the international
Clayton
north and
County.
south is in Clayton County.
Everything is in Clayton
Every last
County.
one.
North, not the North.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, proceed on, please, sir.
Y'all gonna debate about this? Let's go.
So,
When they committed the crime, they ran to the other
When they
terminal,
commit
okay?
the crime, they come to Clayton. That's the bottom line.
I believe I might have shared this with you all before, but when I first came to
Y'all
Clayton,
violating sunshine laws.
when I first came to work for Clayton County Sheriff's Office in 2013, there was 20 people in the Sheriff's Office for murder. As you see today, there are 195. So just to kind of put that in perspective, as I explained to you, when you think of those housing units can fit comfortably 192 inmates. So essentially, we have enough murderers in the jail where 195 people can be in one area, and then one correction officer is walking in and being allowed to come out each time, because a lot of these people have either been sentenced or know that they're not getting out. So they allow the correction officer to come in and out safely every day. 195 for murder, 284 for aggravated assault, and those of you who do not know, aggravated assault is just Georgia's attempted murder. They don't call it attempted murder, they call it aggravated assault. Aggravated battery, it means that in some way you dismembered someone. They had to have some type of loss of limb or loss of a body part, disfigurement to be charged with that. Child molestation, armed robbery, rape, kidnapping. Total of 798 violent offenders inside the Clayton County Jail. Next. Meals. We feed the inmates 3 times a day. Breakfast, hot. Lunch is a sack and cold, and dinner is hot. 1,870 meals cost us $1.7 million. Medical services. Medical screened this year 14,793 inmates. Sick call. I want to bring to your attention the sick call number of 10,947. That will be equivalent to someone at their home dialing 911 and asking for assistance. That's what that is. We received 10,947 calls in the jail that a paramedic had to respond to. Chronic care, this means that they need to see something is going on with them where they needed to see a chronic care doctor. Outpatient visits. On the previous slide, we were talking about seniors going to different visits. Well, that's essentially what that is. That's 140 inmates that we have to transport outside of our facility to some other facility for an outpatient service. ER visits, 199 visits. That means that Clayton EMS responded 199 times to the jail, and they have picked up an inmate and transported them. This is the number that I would like for everyone to pay close attention to. Out of the 1,800 inmates, 495 of them are on medical medication or have some type of medical need. Mental health, 504 of those inmates are there. So you could say out of 1,800, approximately 1,000 of those inmates are sick in some type of way. But we only have 27 medical cells in the jail. When the jail was designed in 2000, they only put 27 medical cells. And again, I have 1,000 sick inmates. So, just to put that in perspective, before I worked at the Clayton Sheriff's Office, I worked at the DeKalb Sheriff's Office, and the DeKalb Sheriff's Office had approximately about 300 beds or cells for medical inmates, about 300, and we have 27.
What's the population in DeKalb?
DeKalb's daily population could be about 2,500. They can hold
Their
about
overall
4,000.
population is what, 900,000?
I'm sorry?
Their overall population is 8
County
or 9.
population?
County.
No, I didn't ask for county.
No, that's what I'm asking now.
Okay.
Is
Yes, their county
what, about
population
8 or
is anywhere from
900,000
800,000.
too?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but for, Mr. Chair, but for the purpose of this, to do apples to apples, it would be the 300 over the 2,500. And then the other one, for yours here, or ours here, it would be this amount over our total inmates.
Yes.
Proceed on, sir.
So our medical budget is about $14 million that we spend per year for medical services. Next. Our jail complex, as I just explained, you have 8 housing units plus our infirmary with 27 cells. That gives us a capacity, if you see that's a normal cell with bunk up at the top, bunk up at the bottom. That gives us a capacity of 1,563. And I just told you our population is at 1805. So that means we're overcrowded and have inmates on the floor. When you add things in there like the leaks and the different things that's going on with the toilets, that now means that someone will be on the floor and the toilet may leak or something may happen. More importantly than overcrowding, we also are dealing with the element of separating and classifications of different inmates. Give an example. In 2000, when the jail was first opened, if I went out on a limb and said, it might have been 2 gangs, if any, in Clayton County in 2000. Might have been 2. we're talking about maybe Bloods, we're talking about Crips. Now today, 23 years later, we have over 50 gangs and over 2,000 gang members that are just in the county. Well, in 2000, you probably wouldn't have to deal with, they probably didn't think about alternative lifestyle separations. They probably didn't think about transgender separations, which are totally two different things. They probably didn't think about just different religion separations. Well, what we deal with at the jail today, there's only 8 units. One of those units are a female unit. So now we go down to 7. Out of that 7, one of those units is your orientation, where you learn the rules and your regulations. So now you have 2 of them are built or designed for maximum security. Well, again, I just told you, we have almost 200 murderers there. Did they think or think that we would have 200 murderers back in 2000? So we need to separate. Back to the cell phone thing, when we had a Blood member call one of his Blood friends to come bring the cell phone in, well, when he was arrested, once we caught him and arrested him, he said, hey, you can't put me over here with them. I need you to put me with my Blood friends. Well, what he didn't know was they weren't his Blood friends, because ultimately they needed payback for the money that was lost. Well, when they fought him, and now he fears for his life, and we had to separate him, now we got to find a hybrid dorm called the gang kickout dorm. So if you can't go to the Bloods, you can't go to the Crips, but you're still a gang member, I still got to separate you. But there's no space to do that, because we only have 8 cells, and we're overcrowded. So it was one thing if we weren't overcrowded, then we could move and have some room. But if we're overcrowded and dealing with all those different elements, we got to come up with something different. Next. So, what is my solution for what we do? One, I just told you, would be a new jail, a new pod, which costs $300 million. Well, we wouldn't even begin to find out where we get the funds from that until the next SPLOST, which is somewhere between 27 and 2030. But we need relief, and we need something now. So I was able to look up and research a mobile jail trailer. As you can see, this is what it would look like on the outside of a facility. It takes about 27 parking spaces, and there are your traditional or your 18-wheeler trailers. Put together, inside, they create the jail, the mobile jail. Next. This is just a closer picture of what it would look like outside. It has AC, plumbing. Next. This is what it would look like inside. You would have the sleeping quarters. On the sides, you would have a day room where you can eat. There's showers inside of here. There's toilets. And this is all what's created by putting trailers together. Next. This is another look at another sleeping area. Next. This is a look at some toilets. Next. This is another look of the toilets. Next. Showers. More showers. A day room common area for games, telephones. And then there's a station for an officer. Next. This is the officers' quarter, the officers' area. Next. How much does it cost? $6.5 million. This is down from the $300 million that it would cost to build the full structure that we would need. This will give us an additional 264 beds, 27 toilets, and 25 toilets. This can be constructed and brought to Clayton County within 6 months. I want to also let you know that where it says temporary jail housing units, the trailers are movable and we can use them for anything that we want. So the idea is, hey, we're going to use these trailers for the next 2 or 3 years till we can get the SPLOS and get the actual jail, the new part of the jail built. Then what do we do with it afterwards? Afterwards, it can be transitioned into something you use for homelessness. It can be placed anywhere. It does not have to be placed at the jail. We can take it and put it on any property in any area in Clayton County, and it'll be something that we own. Next. Clothing of inmates. When I was before the board, I spoke to the inmate. I spoke about needing additional funds to purchase bedding and uniforms for inmates outside of the normal budget. The normal budget, we would budget about $40,000 per year for uniforms. But because we've had issues with lice and bed bugs that were brought into the facility, we had to use additional funds to replace these things. Next. 2,000 uniforms cost $40,000. As I mentioned, this is what we would normally spend yearly, but we have had about maybe 10 different treatments that we have done this year where we've had to throw out uniforms. We attempted to use some solution, place the solution inside the bags, kill the lice, kill the eggs, let it sit for 2 weeks. Then it turned into a whole mold thing as it was sitting, and it just became a big problem rather than us just getting new uniforms. Next. Undergarments, same thing. Shirts, underwear, socks, undergarments. It costs about $40,000 for 2,000 of these things. Next.
Do you all provide for the females?
Yes, this would be this. Prior to me becoming sheriff, no, there was no undergarments provided.
Yep.
Me being the sheriff, this is the cost, and this is what I want to do moving forward. Next. Also with the mattresses, that's an expensive thing. 2,000 mattresses cost a tune of $105,000. And what happens is bed bugs, lice, they get inside the mattress, and then of course if you do a treatment and then someone comes in, they'll easily lay on the mattress and get it if we do not get rid of the mattress. Next. Washers and dryers. We have 4 washers, 4 dryers in the sheriff's office. I believe those are the same washers and dryers that's been there since the jail was designed. At least they look like it if they're not. Since my time being here, I don't think I've been here where there's been all 4 or all 8 working at the same time. There's 2 down, or 2 working here, 2 working here, 3 working here, 1 not working. We've actually took a tour where we were able to put our hands against the dryer, and one was extremely hot and one was not hot. Just like at home, if you ever overpack a washer, there's going to be part of the clothes that are not washed. Same thing. If you overpack a dryer, or the dryer is not getting to a certain temperature, one is not killing the things that it needs to kill when it gets to a certain temperature, and 2, the clothes are not being dried. So what we need to do is just replace the washers and dryers, and that costs it at the tune of $200,000.
Stop right there a
Yes.
second. So you're going to replace 4, the same one's been there. You're going to increase space, but you're going to only operate with the same 4 units?
No, what we're going to do is replace the 4 units and get more better capacity washer and dryers. That's what we're going to do.
I just don't think you have enough washer and dryers if you got that many more inmates. That's all I wanted to bring up. If you're increasing the number of people, you're increasing your space, you're increasing the outdoor space for people to be in, but you're going to operate with the same number.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but I believe if we increase if the cubic feet is increased, I think that changes what you're saying. A bigger washer will wash more clothes for more people.
Got it.
Yes. Next. This is just a picture of the side windows. When we did the initial window replacement, what we said was how many windows, how many cells do we have? How many windows are in each cell? Okay, let's time this, let's times that times whatever, and this is the amount of, this is what we need to put those grates over the windows. What we didn't account for is this very slim window that's on the side, that's in the day room, and we didn't account for that. Well, trial and error, you live and you learn. We covered the cell windows, and then the inmates found a way to cut the side windows that are there. And they were very small windows. So, next. So we have to replace those windows. Not replace the windows, but put the same grate that we put on the cell windows, put it on that exact, that window there. And then that is an additional, next. See, as in staircase, and so those aren't cell windows, it's just they're just side windows. Hit next. And that's an additional $300,000 to cover 96 windows.
So that area has not been completed or even funded?
No, that hadn't even been funded. We did initially 800 windows, and that's what was completed, but then we discovered that, hey, there was 96 windows that we didn't think about. Next. Intake salad port. We all, I believe now, I have heard the story that the inmate, if we can hit next. What took place, I'm going to speak loud and move to the camera. Can we zoom this a little bit? So what happens is when an inmate comes into the Clayton County Jail, there's a button on the outside. It's answered by our central control. Our central control answers it and opens the gate. All those municipalities that I said to you before comes inside, they drive in, they come here, they curl around, and then they park here. Once they park, they then open the door, and the inmate gets out with the officer, and then they walk into the jail. What took place when we had the escape was that the officer drove in, the officer gets out, the officer says, hey, we have an inmate that they're going to need help with. The officers walked out, they grabbed the inmate as they were walking in with the inmate handcuffed. The inmate takes off, runs, jumps onto a car. As you see, the cars are on the back wall, jumps onto the van, jumps onto the back, jumps over the wall. Inmate escaped. Took about 45 seconds maybe.
How many more we got?
Well, I didn't design this jail. I didn't design this sally port. But I will tell you, I'll do what it takes to secure it. So what we did was, as you see here, the structure of the skeleton is already there. So what we did was contact overhead garage door and ask them if they could just put a garage door in each of these bays. So now what happened is the officer would drive in the same way, but when they come here, a garage door would open. They would drive inside, the garage door would close down, and then the inmate would then get out of the car when the garage is down. And now that protects our citizens. If you know, when we did catch that guy, he was on the front porch of someone's house off of 54. Next.
About how many more do we have to go?
Slides.
Well, I mean, I'm asking personally because I'm
Did you see the number?
headed out of here in about 5:30 in the morning. So, but I wanted to hear.
Is the number on there? It should. We should cancel.
I cancel myself. Oh, cancel slide.
Your flight.
You lost your mind.
So we're at 39 and we're got 44. So we're at the end. So this is overhead garage doors. It will cost $281,000 to secure that sally port. Next. Ice for inmates. Because we've had the toilet and the issues with the toilet, the inmates have had issues with getting water. So what I did was purchase some coolers that you may see at a football game or wherever, and I put in each cell. Those coolers are replaced 3 times a day and replenished with water. What happened, because this was not something that was normally done, it used more ice. And the ice machines that we had were not at capacity to do that, because that's just something that it never had to do before. So we just need to purchase an additional ice machine for $3,500 so that we can make sure that the inmates have ice water in all the units. Next. Body cameras. We're in 2023, and I believe the Clayton County Sheriff's Office probably is the only agency in Clayton County without body cameras or car cameras, and probably the only one in the metro Atlanta without body cameras. That is a problem. That's something that I want to change. I believe in body cameras, and I think it's something that can help us in the future. In this video, because of time, I won't show it, but what happens is this lady is arrested. When she gets arrested, she says, "Hey, officer, I'm pregnant." The officer says, "Okay, ma'am, do you need anything? Are you okay? Do you need some water? Hey, you told me you're pregnant. I'm going to call an ambulance." She says, "No." He says, "Hey, it's my job to take care of you and take care of your baby." She says, "Okay." He's very courteous, very nice to her. Ultimately, she goes to jail. When she goes to jail, unfortunately, she loses her baby. She then sends in a lawsuit and a report that the officer was nasty to her. The officer made her lose her baby, and that was just not the case. Body camera footage was able to show that the officer did his job, and the officer did what he was supposed to do and was very courteous to her and went up and beyond. That's something that is a reason I want and need body cameras, because we're in 2023. Next. How much do body cameras cost? $6,854. That comes with 320 body cameras and 100 patrol vehicles. Next. Last but not least, outside the walls, inside the walls. I know everyone has paid attention to the news that there's a neighboring county that has had over 20 deaths in their facility. At the Clayton County Sheriff's Office, it's not something that I'm proud of because someone passes, but we have had 2 deaths this year of natural causes, and we had 4 deaths last year. 2 were homicides and 2 were natural causes. Moving in the future, there's something and there's a way that we can monitor and prevent certain things. Most people wear a watch where they track their steps, they track their heartbeats, it just gets, the watch is, my watch tells me to stand up. It says, hey, stand up, take a seat, There's technology out there that's a wristband that can go on each inmate. This watch is on each inmate, as you can see, and it's secured by a magnet that cannot be removed. Once it's on this inmate, it reads the inmate's vitals, and it will tell you when an inmate is in duress.
How much does that cost?
How does it do it?
How much does that cost?
Look at
it. It's right in front of
right there.
Oh, okay.
$4.6 million startup cost.
I want one. Order me one.
So what happens, seriously, remember I told you, let's go back to the 10,000 sick calls we had, the 1,000 inmates that are sick. Well, what has to happen, just so you all have a visual picture, on 200 inmates that are on the floor, the officer is required to make rounds 1 hour, at minimum, 1 hour, once an hour. So the officer walks by, inmate Smith is alive and breathing, officer walks back, he will not come back or required to come back for another hour to check on inmate Smith. The moment he walks away, something happens to inmate Smith. If he's in there by himself, he doesn't get checked on until another hour. If he has a roommate, maybe the roommate will is up and watching him, and the roommate will bang and say, or hit the button and say he needs help. If we had this watch, the moment that officer walks by, hey, inmate Smith, you're right. If he goes into cardiac arrest, It will alert the officers and tell them he needs assistance. That's one part of it. The second part of it is, let's talk about keep separates. Let's talk about co-defendants. If you have this inmate that shouldn't be around this inmate, you can monitor and you can track that, and it'll tell you that these inmates are not supposed to be near each other. If you have inmate-on-inmate assaults, if one inmate goes into the cell of another inmate, it will track and tell you that at the time of this assault, based on the camera, these are the two inmates that were in there, and this is the inmate, and it tracks all of that. It's amazing. That's inside the walls. Outside the walls, hey, when you start talking about bonds, you start talking about, I do OR bonds. I do bonds for DUIs and bonds for marijuana less than now. So these are things that we can utilize. As you can see, it costs $5 per day versus the $65 a day it will cost to have an inmate inside. Next. Total cost, $19,441,740. Remember, I told you for the past 23 years, we've been band-aiding and or missing certain things. I'm here to tell y'all, I've identified the stuff. We need to fix it. And it takes all of us to fix this jail and make sure the citizens, the inmates, the contractors, and the officers are safe. Any questions?
All right, any questions for the sheriff?
I just want to make a comment about the about the watches.
Yes, ma'am.
Another situation that I kind of read about this week, there was a young lady, she was pregnant, and she said that she had asked for help, within the jail, and she delivered the baby by herself, and now she's suing the prison because she's saying no one came to help her. So that watch would be good for situations like that, just to make sure that women don't have to sit there and deliver their babies in their cells, things of that nature. People are looked at, and people are not dying in the jail from being eaten by lice or things like that. So that would be, or bed bugs. So that would be something that would be great, I think, for our prison system, and will prevent deaths as well.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm tired, y'all.
Any other questions?
I'm with you.
Yeah, for me, all I'd like to see is a priority report based off of what is prioritized here. Instead of just saying here for all, we'll find out what's prioritized and what's the most important thing to get done right now, what that cost is, with also what we have earmarked in the past and what percentage it has been complete and when it will be complete with the cost.
Yeah, and that's a good point, to prioritize what is most important to you and possibly do a phase-in approach. Coming up with $19 million off the rip, that's going to be trying. But let me ask one other question.
Yes.
In reference to the trailers itself, how many additional personnel would you need to maintain that facility itself?
Yes, so if we go back to the trailer slide, we have estimated that 8 additional correction officers will be needed. We have 4 shifts. It would need 1 officer to be manned and vice versa. If one calls out and one's needed, that's why I said 2 per shift for a total of 8. That cost is about added about $550,000 to the budget for 8 additional correction officers.
How much you said?
About, it should be on the last slide. I believe the number was, it's not on that one. It's about 550,000.
My other question was showing the closeness and the number of inmates within that trailer. Are you not worried about the safety of the inmates or even the officers who would respond? Because if something happened, a fight broke out, and all those inmates were in there together, that's going to pose a safety risk.
So you can't tell it by the picture, but actually it's a lot of space in there. Also, this would be for our minimum security inmates. So the people that will go in here is someone who is caught with a traffic stop, someone here for a DUI. Our minimum security inmates will go in there. They would, because right now the minimum security inmates are in the jail and they're behind the doors, and if we move them out, we'll have more space to move the other ones there.
Any other questions? You have something, Mr. Seal?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chair, and Board. Real quick, one of the things that the Sheriff has done a phenomenal job around is that we query quite a bit now to talk specifically about the items that we can address immediately and what may call for a long-term solution. To Commissioner Davis' question about the prioritization, one of the things we are doing is doing that very thing to talk about understanding that $19 million is a heavy lift, that there might be some things that we can incrementally put in place. So we meet consistently to make sure that we're addressing those issues. So you will be getting from a board an overall report to talk specifically about those areas that we feel like can be done immediately versus things that might call for a longer funding mechanism in place. And we're utilizing the Grant Administration Office as well to look at other funding, so it's not always at the behest of our taxpayers' dollars to get it done. There might be some grant opportunities out there that we can look at to really bring some additional funding in. So I just wanted to bring the board up to date that you will see systematically more reports coming in to talk about our progress and some of our challenges as the Sheriff is leading that charge.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say to our sheriff, thank you for bringing these things to our attention. Y'all can give him a round of applause because it was an excellent presentation. And like I said, when we come, as I said, when we come together and we look at what we need to prioritize, just know that you have my support. And I just want to thank you for making sure that you keep our prisoners safe as you can, the people that are working in the jail. I'm tired, y'all, but I just said, again, thank you, because things could be worse. And we see from other counties, things have gotten worse. And again, thank you for all you do, and thank you for your great presentation tonight.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I want to just add, since January, we have, the Sheriff's Clean Initiative Program, have picked up 318 tons of trash, and that's about 702,000 pounds, just so you know that.
Well, we appreciate that.
Speaking of that, speaking of that, do you still pick up trash at Flat Shoals Park?
Flat Shoals Park, yes.
Oh, we need to add you to a list of of a meeting we're gonna have.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we need some.
Hey, we'll take care of it.
Thank you,
so
Sheriff.
much.
Thank you. All right. Commissioner Block Grant. Ms. Jackson.
You got 5 minutes.
Oh, you should have said that earlier. A little late on that.
Please.
Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. You have a list of 501c3 applicants before you that are seeking local assistance grants from the county. Applications were available for download on February 7th, 2023. A mandatory workshop was held here by Clayton Collaborative on February 23rd. Completed applications were due back to Clayton Collaborative on March 10th. During the budget process, those applications were then graded by Clayton Collaborative. And so then you have the list above that shows the requested amount and the proposed amount. I would like to make one note, though. If you come down the side, you see Rainbow House Connection Child Advocacy and Assessment Center for $10,000. That needs to be removed and reallocated based upon your wishes.
I have a mark by that one.
Yeah, what?
A check mark for a question.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That completes my presentation. Any changes you would like?
Well, one thing I would like to see in the area of, how much did you say the Rainbow House was allocated?
$10,000 that needs to be reallocated based upon your wishes.
Well, I would like to see some of that money go to, and I know Gigi's House has got $5,000, but the work that they are doing with human trafficking victims is very, very important in our community in the Metro Atlanta and throughout the country as well. And so I would like to see some of that money. I would even say another 5,000 of it. I wouldn't say all of it, but maybe another 5,000 Gigi's House to increase that to 10. Well, thank you.
Also, can we check and make sure that all of these that are listed here are still in business?
Yes, ma'am.
We've had that to happen before.
Yeah.
We were giving money and the organizations were no longer operating.
Okay.
And, Mr. Chair, did you
Yes,
say
ma'am.
all of that amount? or
No, I
was
said
that-
5,000 of it.
Okay,
So there's
because,
another 5.
we just had a good presentation earlier tonight, under one of our new requests. The youth service, the 7 pillars, we can consider it anyway.
Absolutely. One more comment while we're on that subject. During the budget process, we budgeted $900,000 for the local assistance grants. The total that you have before you is $814,500. So you have $85,500 that you can reallocate between now and the board meeting, or whenever you would like to adopt the
When
the
does
proposal.
this come to us?
It's
Next meeting.
to come next, yes, at the
Next
next
week?
board meeting.
Next meeting?
If you would like for us to put that off longer, we can.
No, because people are waiting.
They need it for operational purposes.
I just would like for us to consider, just piggybacking on Commissioner Hambrick, to really help that organization, because I really want to see again that building being used, so that this board can say we really have something we can all be proud of making it work. And then, Mr. Chair, also, what would we need to do to get up and running that section of the building so that our children who are unfortunately being victimized can begin to have their testing done again in the county? So if you all could look at that as well between the CFO, the COO, and Mr. Chairman.
And we do have to do our homework on that, because I believe there is a portion of that building that does not belong to the county, that we would have to negotiate or talk to them in reference to them, whether they'll sell it or do whatever. But there is a portion of that building in the complex that we don't own.
No, I'm only speaking, Mr. Chairman, for clarity though, I'm only speaking for the testing of the children that are sexually assaulted.
Yes. and
Because we don't have that space.
No, what I'm saying is that, I'm going back to the 7 pillars,
Oh,
the
okay.
youth serve building with the old Rainbow
Got
House.
it.
That there's some more work we got to do in reference to that building itself. But to your point, yes, I agree.
So, but will we be able to do at least an MOU so that we, as like Commissioner was saying, we can at least get that 750 drawn down so that we can all
Yeah,
be.
we'll have to have legal to work on that, because they're going to have to agree with it as well. So there has to be
Okay.
some.
Well, let me say this, because I don't think when the request was made, it was made for the homeless, for that building and all. I don't think, was it?
Yes, it was,
It was?
Commissioner.
Oh, okay.
Because it's empty.
Okay.
Remember, we severed the
Homeless
contract because
families.
Rainbow House is no longer in operation.
I wasn't sure if her request
It was, yes.
for that too.
It's to be used for the homeless families, so they can stay as a unit. All right. Any other questions?
Thank
And we'll take a
everybody.
look at that, and commissioners, if there's any additional that you would like to take a look at. Excuse me?
We have to agree on whether or not we're going to do that anyway.
Well, we can't vote on it here.
Right, exactly.
So if you would just get with each commissioner and take a look at it before it's presented on the agenda for next Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
And of course, we'll have a discussion about it then, but at least everybody's request will be in, and then make sure that we get the final proposal before next week.
Yes,
So we
sir.
can review that individually.
And thank you to Mr. Brinson, who's here. We didn't say
Yes.
anything, his hard work.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. CO.
Yes, Chairman, just to remind you, tomorrow's agenda meeting, so if there's any changes that need to be made to keep it from having to be an emergency change.
Why would it be, yeah, because the amount will be
Yeah,
set.
so technically, it will be on the agenda Wednesday, but Thursday, if you need to make any changes to it, would be the appropriate time to make those changes.
Now, let me ask you, the 80,000 that, if it wasn't allocated, what becomes of that? What could we do with that 80,000?
It will remain in that account during this fiscal year. So if you have something come up, let's say someone on the commission wants to partner with another city for a project or something, then you would come to me and say,
And that
we have
money
this
can be drawn
project,
out.
and we could use that money for that, yes.
It's like reserve, it'd be reserve, okay, for unexpected, not unexpected. Just-
Unallocated
Yeah.
costs.
The only thing I would say about that, in all fairness, and I understand you're seeing about another jurisdiction, that's fine. But what we do need to do is not have these individuals, like the organization that came before us before, who always scored 90 but never got awarded the funding. What I don't want to see us do is have them go through all of this process when in actuality,
we're just going to give the money out to others. I think it's unfair to those who take the time to go through the process to be evaluated. So from an equitable standpoint, I think we just need to consider that. And if there's something within the list that's already been approved, we can prioritize the funding for that purpose. And maybe even for the mental health, because I do want us to get back to and Commissioner Anderson even didn't talk about that, the mental health for our community. So, and find ways to be able to use it on those who did the hard work.
Any other questions? Any other questions?
That's all, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Anderson, no. All right, thank you, Ms. Jackson. And to COO's point, if y'all have something that's going to change the final, excuse me, we still in meeting?
No, we are.
Yes, we are. If there's going to be something that's going to change the final number, let's get it done before the agenda meeting tomorrow. And of course, if whatever is in reserve will be there unallocated, and we can use that for other purposes as needed.
That's if we vote on that.
That's, yeah.
Because that's not my suggestion.
Well, I'm just saying that's where we're at. If
Okay.
we don't
I got
allocate
you.
all of the money tomorrow.
Okay, I'm clear.
So
Thank
now
you,
we're
Mr.
adjourned.
Chair.